and Azimio leader Raila Odinga ahead of the mention on September 20th. The petitioner wanted the dam was stopped and political parties restrained from releasing funds to the parties. This even comes as Azimio has announced that the demos are still on.
Peaceful protests planned for Wednesday, Thursday and Friday this week are on, as earlier declared by our leaders. These protests will go on in line with Article 37 of our Constitution, which, as you all know, provide for freedom of peaceful assembly and picketing, and no person, no authority has got the power to suspend the operation of Article 37 of our Constitution. Not William Ruto, not Kithure Kindiki, not Ndiritu Gachagua who? Yes, no person and anybody purporting to stop demonstrations is deluding themselves.
Azimio now says that the demos will stop once the government brings down the cost of living, led by a minority leader, Okoh. They say the government keeps accusing them of failing to provide solutions to the rising cost of living, yet it is their responsibility.
Kenya Kwanza claims that the protests are not about the cost of living. In their view, the cost of living is not so high as to warrant protests. That is how a regime that has abandoned people's agenda thinks. Because Kenya Kwanza does not seem to understand or know how hungry and angry Kenyans are. People want food. People don't eat government, legitimate or illegitimate. Give them food and they leave the streets.
As far as we know, Kenyans have never asked for funds to be launched. Kenyans have specifically asked for the cost of goods to come down and taxes to be reduced. But Kenya Kwanza is talking about deficit and funds. People don't care. All that the people want is food.
ODM Secretary General Edwin Sifuna, on his part, claims that there have been more than 1,000 attacks on the Azimio signature collection website.
They are crying and saying, oh, this signature thing is going nowhere. But they are actively sabotaging the collection of signatures. We have had over 1,000 attacks on our website that is being used for collection of signatures. They have even cloned the website to try and confuse our supporters. But we are saying Kenyans want to eat, and they want to eat today. It doesn't matter how long you cover your ears. Tutapiga hiyo masikio kofi mpaka ifunguke. Usikie kilio ya Wakenya.
And Kitui East MP Nimrod Mbai appeared before the EACC of assaulting a Kenya power officer. Mbai, after being grilled, stated that he had no knowledge of the incident in question and claimed that the video had been tampered with.
When we go to politics, we know what comes with politics, and we are ready for it to do. As in, we have to fight for your rights. Yeah, you can't get to a point of harassing people or beating people, but a man has to do what he has to do as a man for things to move. Given another opportunity, I'll handle it the same way. And that's me, because I can't change. It's Nimrod.
Televangelist Gilbert Dare has been acquitted of child trafficking charges due to insufficient evidence, according to trial magistrate Robinson Ondieki. The prosecution did not produce sufficient evidence to connect the televangelist with the criminal charges. Dare was accused of stealing 5 children in 2017. This is Dare after the judgment.
I want to thank God for the British government who gave me protection for 12 years, and they said I have no case to answer based on the evidence given to them to extradite me to come to Kenya to answer the Trump charges which was put against me. Surely it has damaged the name of my reputation, and I'm grateful I'm free, and I'm now going to continue to the mission that Jesus gave to me on earth.
Still in the corridors of justice, and the former PS Lillian Omolo has been released from prison after a court allowed an application by the DPP to withdraw the NYS case involving the 60 million shilling scandal. Justice Peter Okoh acquitted Omolo, saying it's in the interest of justice and that of the public if the matter is stopped. The DPP cited insufficient evidence and that the procurement process involving the concerned payments was concluded before she was appointed to office. And cancer survivors and various organizations staged a walk at Kariobangi, Nairobi County, sensitizing the community on the importance of cancer screening. The survivors have called on families who have patients living with cancer to support and encourage them.
Ningependa kuambia wanaume wale ambao wako na mabibi wenye wanapigana na saratani, tafadhali mshikilie juu na mhitaji. Na ningependa kuambia wanawake ambao wako na wanaume ambao wanapigana na saratani, tafadhali shikilia mtu wako. Na ningependa kuambia community ama dini, saratani si uchawi, saratani si kiboko kutoka kwa Mwenyezi Mungu. Saratani ni ugonjwa ambayo iko na inatembea na sisi, na unaweza survive ama unaweza ishi nayo.
I'm Dennis Aseto. Good morning.
102.5 Spice FM, Kisumu.
The following takes place from 6 a.m. to 10 a.m. every weekday on Spice FM.
This is one of the hottest show that we can ever miss in the morning, and it's a show that really gives a real situation in the situation room.
Pleasure to be here. Thank you guys so much. Nduthai, nice meeting you. Even beautiful in person more than in photos.
Say that again. Character is like pregnancy. You cannot hide it. You know, people hiding here and there, you know, but after 2-3 months, 5 months, now you realize, so that is why the attitude that you are showing us, you're pregnant.
It's like what my grandmother would say. You cannot pickpocket a naked man.
How's that? It's communal, isn't it?
No comment. The Situation Room, Kenya's biggest conversation.
3, 2.
Everybody, welcome to Kenya's biggest conversation.
Nyeri Latifa, Muga, Madam Du, nimesalamia wote sana.
Tumepokea salamu, asante sana.
Hapa Garissa today the weather is very good, only that baridi inatupeleka mbio sana.
Sasa baridi ni degree ngapi hapo?
Hata sijui, lakini madam tunakauka sana.
If you want to follow the money trail, you've got to think like a thief to be able to catch that thief.
A slap from a friend is better than a kiss from an enemy. You remember the kiss of Judas Iscariot? Iscariot.
Yes.
He's the one that imetuweka kwa hii mashida yote na mataabu kwa sababu of that kiss. Yet the slap of Jesus Christ, when he slapped those guys and walikuwa wanauza mboga ndani ya kanisa, took them to heaven.
Welcome to Tuesday, and we're seeing a build-up of traffic in certain parts already. At a few minutes after 7 o'clock, traffic is starting to look heavy on Jogo Road. It's all manageable, at least for now. A few minutes after 6 is not going to cause a big dent in the traffic situation. On the Thika Superhighway, it's just flowing free and flowing well. Not any traffic at all, actually, as you get towards the CBD. Juja Road, we'll see a little bit of that as you're trying to get out into town. We're also looking at traffic coming in on Langata Road, interestingly enough, just a little bit of that as you're getting towards Rilo Dingaway. Still early, we'll see that pick up later. Let's be ready for it. If you've left already, well, good on you. If you haven't, think about what might pack up closer to 7. Let's talk on Spice FM KE on Twitter. Keep things moving this Tuesday.
This is The Situation Room, the home of hard-hitting political commentary and penetrating insights about the state of the nation. This is a talk radio experience like no other. The Situation Room, a place for hard truths, debates, and elevated conversations. The Situation Room, witty, political, engaging, deep, controversial. In the room, we have C.T. Muga, researcher, academic, seasoned political observer, a fountain of wisdom in these politically uncertain times. Ndu Okoh, Nigerian by birth, Kenyan by choice, communications expert, Pan-Africanist, a truth seeker and believer in people power, and Eric Latiff, agent provocateur, the man in the chair, seasoned journalist, news hound, a man who believes in punching up, not down. This is The Situation Room, the only way to start your day.
How are you doing? This is The Situation Room. It is the biggest conversation in the country. Yes, some people are calling this Friday. Ndu.
Calling what Friday?
Today.
Calling today Friday?
Yeah.
Why?
Tomorrow is Saturday. Thursday is Saturday. Friday is Saturday.
Voilà,
Saturday
because they
is
might get
Saturday.
things tomorrow. Okay.
Imagine.
It might just be like that, be like a thing.
Imagine.
Oh, the new Friday. Voila, I can see that. Quite a number of people already calling it Friday.
Aye.
Well, we'll see.
Imagine. How are you?
Fine, thank you.
How's it going?
It's going, man.
Very good. It keeps going.
Well, we're trying. Pole pole.
It's important.
Innit?
It's important to keep it going. Yeah, because my friend,
If you don't,
It will go with you. It will just go with you like that, as in you just sitting and you don't know what's happening and imekubeba,
Imeenda.
inakuramba.
I knew it. I knew it. I knew it was coming.
You felt it.
Yes, I did. I could feel it. Sasa CT is just happy where he is somewhere.
Yeah.
In the atmosphere.
He's feeling happy somewhere. Ednah, would do like that for the 7 and the 8, and then we can do like that. So City is out there. What are they doing out there?
Salimia tu watu.
Anaongelesha raia.
Raia.
Anaochukua maoni.
Ndio kuja tuambie.
Vipi maoni yako kuhusu mswada wa leo?
What's mswada?
Mswada?
Yeah.
Topic.
Topic is mswada. Then what is crud. What's that word?
Maandamano.
No. Mtandao.
Internet.
Oh, okay. Internet is mtandao. Got it.
Pale mtandaoni pale.
Barua ya Pepe is email, right? So essentially
Pepe.
it's the letter that flies, isn't it? If you're going to do a direct translation. Pepe coming from wind, pepo, pepea, butterfly, those things. Ki pepeo ina pepea, pepo. Pepe. Is it not? It's all from the same word, Abi.
Pepo chaff.
There you go. Ki pepeo ina pepea.
Pepe. Yeah. Ednah, you're not doing like that? Umeamua ugome? Okay, she has done like that. Yeah. So, City will be joining us when he does.
When he's finished with the people.
When he finishes collecting views of the people, he'll come.
Let
me tell you what we'll be discussing today. At 7 a.m., we'll talk about stable driving power, electric vehicles, and premium after-market suspension products. And this is with Charles Olo, who is a suspension systems expert, and the brand manager for ECTA Kenya, Peter Kimathi, who will be joining us now. They'll come and tell us what they do. So, suspensions in motor vehicles and the importance of having what does suspension constitute?
I have no.
Kwa gari, suspension ni nini?
Suspension.
Ile sisi kusema kwenda home.
Yes, ukicheza
uende nyumbani.
Lakini unaenda unaleta mzazi unarudi.
Yeah.
Expulsion umeenda.
Expulsion is one way ticket. Suspension return.
Suspension return. Lakini return na vikwazo.
What?
Kuja na mzazi. So suspension kwenye gari ni nini?
Si inaenda ikikuja.
Naenda juu kirudi chini.
Suspension kwa gari iko chini ya gari. Chini as in under the car.
Imesuspend gari kutoka chini.
Under carriage.
Ndio gari vizuri
sana. Unajua kususpend ni kushikilia na kuhakikisha kwamba imepepea hivyo.
You were not here a minute ago, but we just finished talking about kipepea and kipepeo. Pepeo, kipepeo. The butterfly is flying. Kuba hakaba.
Did you throw in chipukizi also?
Chipukizi? No.
Okay.
Titi, how are you?
I'm very well, thank you.
How are the people?
The people are good.
They're good? They've given you their views?
They have given me their views.
Wonderful.
And they have told me that I will continue.
Okay.
Yes.
All right.
That was the message this morning. When we spoke.
Okay.
Yes. But we'll speak later on in the day.
Okay.
You'll speak again?
Yes.
You'll catch up later?
We'll catch up later.
Yes. So at 8, we'll be joined by a Kenya Kwanza member of parliament from Molo constituency. He's also the chairman of Finance and Planning Committee of the National Assembly, Kuria Kimani. So tomorrow there's Mandamano. And we are seeing all Kenya Kwanza MPs speaking left, right, and center, saying things and the other. So he'll be here, and let's hear what he says. So what is the leadership of Parliament, for example, doing and thinking about this? The big issue is on the Contentious Finance Act, which was midwifed by Kuria Kimani's Finance Committee in the National Assembly. So he'll come. atatuambia mambo kadhaa, mambo mawili matatu. At 9 a.m. we talk about the economy and what is happening in our economy today. We'll be joined by Dr. Jim McPhee. He is a lecturer at Strathmore University and he's a renowned economist in the country. He has, been an advisor at the National Treasury for the Central Bank and others. He'll be joining us at 9 a.m. Let's talk economy. Mr. Sawa. Hiya, 16 after 6. We are live streaming the show as usual on YouTube and Facebook. And if you're online as usual, please let us know where you're tuned in from. As usual, Ndu is about to give us the weather updates.
This is the Situation Room, the only way to start your day.
Cloudy conditions in Nairobi at 13, highs of 22 and lows of 11. Nakuru will see cloudy conditions through today. It's currently 13, highs of 26. 22 will be the high in a mostly cloudy Nyeri at 12, and it's 11 and partly cloudy in Eldoret, highs of 24. 23 and partly cloudy in Mombasa, highs of 28, and we'll see highs of 28 as well in a partly cloudy Malindi at 25. It's clear at 19 in Kisumu, highs of 31. 29 will be the high in a clear Kakamega at 17. It's cloudy at 22 in Kampala, highs of 28, and 30 will be the high in a partly cloudy Dar es Salaam at 23. It's warming up slightly in Johannesburg. It's now 11 degrees, highs of 20 and lows of 6. Partly cloudy conditions at 26 in Lagos, highs of 30 and lows of 25. It's 22, that's what it is. It'll be a low of 22 as well, and highs of 33 in Kinshasa at 31. Tuesday afternoon is sunny in Beijing, highs of 36 and lows of 25. It's partly cloudy at 15 in Paris, highs of 30. And we'll see highs of 23 in a mostly cloudy London at 15. All right. Monday night, cloudy at 26 in New York, coming into Tuesday, highs of 32 and lows of 23.
Mature, intelligent talk every morning. Spice up yourself. Mornings done right.
Oh, yeah.
Good morning, people. We see you online today. Karibuni Sana. Wiseman is here with us, as is MC Tonje. Good morning to you. And Karibu Sana, welcome to the Situation Room. Okay, who else is here? Owen Oduor says, looking forward to the show. Akiki Samuel is tuned all the way from Gulu City. You know where Gulu is? It's in northern Uganda. Mm-hmm. And he says he cannot miss the show. Karibu Sana, who is leading Mandamano in the Situation Room. Hey. Mm-hmm. Why? We're not doing like that, so I beg. Okay. Who else is online? Dofitas Monis Janeth is tuned in this morning. Tuned in from Road A in Nairobi.
Road.
It's like, what?
Maroda.
Okay. Zakayo Wasubukia.
Which one is Road A, by the way?
I don't know.
I know Road C. So then Road B and A must be somewhere near Road A.
in the vicinity.
Okay.
Isn't it? Mm-hmm. Idewa Francis says, good morning, tuned in from Mombasa. James Mukhabana says, good morning, Eric Ndu and City, tuned in from Udhiru, looking forward to listening to you guys today. Tuned in from Adelaide in South Australia. Salimia Mwalimu.
Salimika.
Greetings.
Thank you very much.
Mm-hmm.
Sir George Gashoiri says, good morning. How is your morning in Nairobi? Cold and chill. Manchester is rainy but warm. All right. Joseg is tuned in from Kobo. Ask Honorable Latiff why, just like CT, he doesn't remove his pair of glasses to see clearer.
CT does that. CT has many. I'll start doing that, right?
Okay.
I will learn from the sage.
You know.
Carol Nyabura says, good morning, team. Nawapenda sana. Tunawapenda pia. Morning. Tuned in from Kikuyu. That's Deno Mwanza. Grace Cosma says, good morning, my super trio. Tuned in from Doha in Qatar. We thank God for the gift of life and good health indeed. Tuned in from the north of Qatar is where Africana is. Good morning, lady and gentlemen. Thank you for keeping the unbiased discussions. I listen to you guys every day from Atlanta, Georgia. Keep up the great conversations. Thank you. Gladys Waithaka. Eric, say good morning.
Good morning.
Again.
Mm-hmm.
It's that morning when, if in Nigeria, you won't wish to be called Oga. Nani anataka kuoga sahi na hii baridi? Where Oga, Gladys?
Surely.
Charles Kimani, morning CT and company locked in from Seattle. Josegi Ndu had 2 presidents this weekend. Lucky her indeed. Tinubu was around. Did you people see? In fact,
has he gone back?
He has gone back.
Okay. The Nigerian president.
I don't know that Nigerians have. Anyway, I know there's a lady here who, her name is Jumoke, and she told me she was jumping everywhere, cooking this weekend for delegates because everybody wants to come to Kenya, but they still want to eat Niger food. So she was cooking everything. I said, why? Bolaji Tinubu is around now. Okay.
So, did she feed him?
She catered a dinner where he was with Nigerian business people and embassies.
Oh, nice. Wamemlipa ama ni pending bills?
Where? Jumoke? You pay her even before she lights fire. Kadrango Perez says, good morning from Gong, Kenya. Good morning to my favorite trio locked in from Muthiga. Where's Muthiga? I often confuse it with Muthiga. Okay, really, CT?
Surely.
It's there. Okay, so Hamjambo Sigujema says Teresia Maveka. Hey, Teresia Maveka, good morning, Justice. It's not just anyhow, it's justice.
It's justice, isn't it? But the same Teresia.
It is her. I've seen her picture.
Okay.
Good morning. Everybody just suddenly jumped in here this morning. Kevin is here. Peter Mora says good morning. Desmond is tuned in, says love you all, love you too. Tuned in from UAE. Celine Kajo is tuned in from County Durham. Jawa Wajiko says good morning. Julius Kinyanjui. Paul Nzengu. Good morning from California. It's 40 degrees in California. Folks are complaining about the hot summer days. Daniel Ojijo says tuned in. Ruto is asking, CT anachukua maoni from where? So ulikuwa anachukua maoni wa
kutoka kwa raia wananchi watukufu.
Peoples of Kenya.
The peoples. Okay. Getting you clearly from hot Texas. Yes, it is quite hot in the US right about now. Good morning, James Lubega from Copenhagen. Good morning, great people. I request you to invite Transport CS to the hot seat. We have questions to ask Nisa Albasi. Good morning from Maryland. What does CT mean? Can we tell them?
Yes.
CT means Charles Timothy. So when you hear CT Muga, it is Charles Timothy Muga. All right. Rono is tuned in from Baringo. Ogana is tuned in from Rarieda. Richard Mwangi says he's tuned in from Sharjah. And he's about to call it a day when you guys wake up. I'm a night owl. Okay. Everybody's online this morning. Let's get to Crack-a-lack. And thanks for joining us. Karibuni sana.
Yes. City. Guinea.
We are in the country of Guinea.
Guinea Conakry.
Guinea. Actually, yes. That is the name that Guinea is known by. Guinea Conakry. It's actually considered to be a coastal country. And it borders an ocean.
Considered to be, or it is one?
It is one.
Okay.
And also considered to be.
All right.
You consider that something that is because it is. Because if it isn't, then what are you considering?
Wow. All right.
Okay. Atlantic Ocean. Ndio hiyo. Ni neighbor. Okay, then it has another Guinea, its neighbor in the northwest. Guinea-Bissau. And then to the west it has what? Hey, the Indian Ocean. Then Mali, northeast. Yes.
This is the Indian Ocean and the Atlantic Ocean.
There's Indian.
You did?
Yeah.
The Indian came to mind, but it's actually Atlantic.
Okay.
Yes. Indian is this other side of ours. Okay. Cote d'Ivoire, southeast. Sierra Leone and Liberia to the south. Now, would you believe it that in this country, French is the official language?
I would believe it.
Last week, we were looking at problems in the country of Sudan, and we talked about coups, counter-coups, revolutions. Well, Guinea is not to be left behind. They got their independence in 1958. Okay, it was formerly known as French Guinea at that particular point in time. However, that country has had continuous coups. Continuous, and what we would refer to as authoritarian rule. Well, in 2021, the military decided, something, this constitution is not working. First of all, remove President Alpha Conde out. Okay? Suspend the constitution.
Next.
Right? Yes, and then now let us go about the business of ruling the country. Hasn't quite worked that well, but there it is. Now, it's odd though. The Arabs came with the word that described the Sudanese as black. Okay? Now, the Portuguese had their bit in the 15th century. They are the ones who had actually featured and come to this country. Okay? Now, they have a word, Guinea. Now, Guinea was their reference to black.
Okay. Pronounced Guinea.
It's written Guinea. I'm not going to pronounce it another way. Guine, Guinea. How it's pronounced, that's a completely different matter.
That's up to you.
Yes, you pronounce it the way you want. You don't say Guinea, whatever you want to do. You want to make it a nasal sound. Anyway. And that distinction of Guinea was to anyone who was south of the Senegal River. He said, Nyinyi watu yote.
All of you are Guineans.
Yes, and you're black people.
Okay.
All right, now for the proverb. Okay?
You would assume that coming from Portugal, by the time they were landing in these Guinea lands, they had not seen any other Guinea people.
Well, you know, them they were a bit... This is the thing about this country. You know, if you go towards the north, these names, remember there's a group of people they call Moors or Berbers. That's what they actually are. Okay? Some people aren't sure. Are they Arabs? Are they Africans? They're Africans. Okay?
They're Africans.
It's just that, yes, they had come across such people before. But this completely blacker people, they had not come across those ones.
Oh.
So they had to distinguish them between those ones and the Moors. Because the Moors also have a darker complexion. Yes. The sun doing its thing and all that. To have two eyes is a cause for pride. But to have one eye is better than to have none.
To have?
Two eyes is a cause for pride. I'm happy I have two eyes. But to have one eye is better than to have none.
Okay. Okay.
Yeah.
Haya. Fanya namna hiyo.
Pressure mounts on Uhuru over Azimio protests is what we're seeing on the front page of the Standard this morning. Security chiefs have been tasked to investigate the ongoing demonstrations with allegations that the former president could be at the center of the resource mobilization. That's the talk, it's the chatter, it's the everything, it's everywhere. All right. Shakahola death toll breaches the 400 mark. 400 bodies have been found in this 800-acre expanse, and they're not even near half of the land. We'll look at that story. Quite bothersome. It's necessary to keep it front and center. All right. So, Marsabit is a place that folks are scrambling to for gold. The quest for gold gathers steam. But there's a story underneath the story, and we'll look at that as well. Kenya turns into a conduit for illegal South Sudan treasures, and foreigners rush to Marsabit for the precious metal. There's a teen crisis report that's out, and it said that millions smoke, drink, and skip school. There's a problem, and they're trying to get to the bottom of it. On the front page of The Nation, enough is enough, Eric.
Wamesema hivyo? Finally.
The country's fate lies in these men's hands. Decision time. Azimio leader Raila Odinga and President William Ruto have put their feet down on the planned protests. Kenyans will be watching if they, together with the country's top security chiefs, Kindiki, Haji and Kome, will let the country slide, or the nation slide, into anarchy. Walala. That's the question. What austerity is another question up there in yellow. Show of opulence at the State Board members' induction workshop. Money was jumping everywhere. Shwa, shwa, shwa. And you're talking about tightening your belt? Which belts? MPs begin probe into dubious deals at NHIF. That's on the back page of The Nation today. And also, CS Nahumicha is sued over the promotion of junior doctors.
Junior.
At
the expense of seniors.
That is now a better statement.
Okay. Senior.
Yes, because I would have assumed.
What's wrong with promoting? You promote a junior person to a senior position.
Yes.
Can't work any other way.
Okay, so that's what it's looking like, and so she's been sued to court.
Okay,
and so a lot more happening, but that's it for now.
Business Daily. Just days after closing a 70 billion shilling syndicated loan, Kenya has embarked on a fresh drive to raise funds through another syndicated loan.
That's the spirit.
Nice. Documents seen by the Business Daily reveal that the government is looking to raise as much as 141 billion shillings through the facility to be arranged by Tandapage, the Trade and Development Bank. In change of tack, the Treasury is exploring the use of credit insurance cover for the new syndicated loan to boost appetite from global commercial banks and increase its chances of success. The insurance cover comes against the backdrop of the downgrade in the ticket size for the recently concluded syndicated loan by 14 billion shillings in the wake of modest appetite shown by banks. So the government was in the market recently with some syndicated loan, and the appetite was tunakula tu chapati kila siku. Tunataka mukimo. Now government has looked for mukimo and karangaed it nicely.
Tomato hivi.
Yeah, make a tomato pale on the side pale. Now they are back in the market with 140 billion shilling. Looking for that kind of money. The other headline is similar to the page one comment on the Daily Nation. So the Nation has today decided, the Nation Media Group, we are going on full throttle, setting the agenda. Enough is enough. Stop with beating the war drums. That's also on the Business Daily. Ticker headlines: tough times for workers as payroll taxes rise slowest in 7 years. What does that mean? Payroll taxes for the financial year ended June grew at slowest pace in at least 7 years, including the pandemic period, signaling a tough economic setting where firms are struggling to generate new job opportunities and raise workers' pay. Kenya to bid to host Africa's payment platform in push against the US dollar. Munda Kenya has announced plans to vie for hosting rights for a common clearinghouse to pay and settle cross-border trade deals in an ambitious push aimed at cutting reliance on dollars in intra-Africa deals. And then US fund to build 5,000 Kenya affordable houses. The International Finance Corporation is set to make an equity investment worth 2.96 billion shillings in a US-owned Southern African asset manager that's developing 5,000 affordable houses in Kenya. Then there's a big opinion piece here written by Dr. Mboi Wagasha. Dr. Mboi Wagasha is an economist. He was the first chair of the Central Bank of Kenya board, and he was also an advisor in the presidency until 2015. He's written something here, Inflation Storms Gathering for the CBK. He's basically just looking at how the CBK is managing the monetary policy, how it's managing everything, and he says, my God, if the CBK does not right the ship, then the entire thing will sink. Is basically what the former CBK top boss is saying. City?
Yes, please.
Oh, people want me to tell them about the back page of the Business Daily.
It is important.
Okay, it's also another opinion piece here. Writer is the Chief Executive Officer of War McDonald Wealth Management Limited. His name is Richard War. He says, why bonds remain attractive in spite of inflation surging. Higher.
There is a story headline, both in the Daily Nation and in the Business Daily. Enough is enough. Yes. That is what we have in the Nation. But in the Business Daily, enough is enough. Stop beating the war drums. Let me turn around. Then I go to the Star.
Yes.
And there's hardliners blocking Ruto and Raila truce. Before I talk about other things in the Star, the reason why I chose this particular topic, Standard pressure mounts over Uhuru over Azimio protests. Okay. In this entire conversation, if you read it, it is like the citizens of this country are completely helpless. They do not have a say. They cannot make up their minds. They cannot take any step. They're either waiting for the President Ruto to tell them, or they're waiting for Raila Odinga to talk to them.
Yeah.
And if the two are talking opposite matters, then these people who are helpless and hopeless and directionless will somewhere meet somewhere along the line, and they will collide. Okay?
Yes.
So it's, why did we bother getting a new constitution? Anyway, that is a discussion that we will have later. 2 decades case. I'm happy Bishop Dare says after acquittal in trial over child theft. This is a story in the Star on page 9. This Bishop Dare was a man who had been charged. In fact, it's a good time if you have a case that has moved on to this particular area. All these cases seem to be dropped. Yesterday, Anglo Leasing came to an end. Today, Ednah has been left. There was the issue of the former PS, Omolo. She was also, two things come to mind. Either the judicial system had gone completely rogue and the investigative services of our police service again had gone completely rogue and they're just picking on people willy-nilly without due process being followed. And that now we're looking at the cold light of day and we're realizing these people are all innocent at some point. Or something that I can't understand is going on. All right. I will take the view that the courts have found it appropriate and timely to do away with some of these cases. And I will leave it at that. Tourists stream into Masai Mara for wildebeest migration. It's worth seeing this thing. It's actually very fascinating. Yes, I speak as somebody who has seen it. All right. That's bang in the middle with pictures of this, my goodness, fancy Land Cruisers. And then wildebeest looking at the Land Cruisers. That's the picture that you see here.
Right.
All right. Military hospitals to open doors to civilians to raise revenues for sustainability. This is a story on page 3. Spontaneous demos. Police chiefs hold crisis meeting in Nairobi over Azimio-backed protests. Yes.
Sawa. Let's take that break. Tell us about traffic.
All right. Yep.
And then we look at the stories in detail. Good morning.
This is the Situation Room. The only way to
Built
start
quite
your
significantly
day.
on Jogo Road this morning. We're also looking at traffic coming in from Juja Road into the city. And whatever is coming off of the Thika Superhighway is then going to join on Muranga Road with what comes off Juja Road, as well as folks try to get towards the Globe Cinema overpass. There's also traffic early on Kiambu Road this morning. That seems to have started with a bang. It's not too busy coming out of Westlands. On Wayaki Way, coming in from Kangemi, you'll be able to get into the city really quickly. We'll probably see a build-up of that coming off of James Gishoro in a bit. Limu Road, free and clear. If you're getting onto Limu Road, at least for now, you'll be fine. Some build-up as we see then coming in from United Nations Avenue, but all manageable right about now. Okay, yes, sir. We're looking at some more traffic on Langata Road. Looks like it's going to be busy coming off of Magadi Road and then touching on Langata Road later. The Southern Bypass, however, is looking pretty good. There's an option for you to use into the city. North Airport Road, touching on Outer Ring, and then out towards the Eastern Bypass is where we'll see most movement for now. All right, so Tuesday's not starting off too badly. Hopefully we can keep it just so. Let's talk Spice FM, KE on Twitter.
Mature, intelligent talk every morning. Spice up yourself. Mornings done right. 94.4 Spice FM,
Alrighty.
Nairobi.
Okay, so it's been silent, or rather, the reporting on it has been silent in the last couple of days, but still remains to be probably for me one of the biggest stories in the last few months. Shakahola deaths now past 400 mark as more bodies have been found. This is not funny at all. The Shakahola cult death
400
hits 403. Yesterday, after 12 more bodies were exhumed by detectives. The bodies were exhumed from 5 graves in an area presumed to be the church where the followers of Pastor Paul Mackenzie used to pray. The death toll is expected to rise as detectives dig up more graves. Okay. The bodies are believed to be followers of cult leader Mackenzie, who reportedly told them to fast to death to meet Jesus. A few meters from where the bodies were retrieved, the detectives also stumbled on a scene where children reportedly used to be tied with ropes and starved to death inside the forest. This one is hard for me, I wouldn't lie. At the scene, several pieces of rope and clothes were found, which are believed to have been used to tie the children. According to a detective, most detectives will tell you that they have seen it all. It's the nature of the job to be exposed to virtually everything Kenya has to offer, from the weird to the hilarious to the disturbing. But Shakahola is a different kind of evil. The detectives say the exhumation will take much longer than anticipated because new graves are being discovered every day. At the beginning of the week, according to the detective, we had 40 new mass graves. 40. But we keep on stumbling on new graves. Sometimes we find graves even where we pitch our tents. Coast Regional Commissioner Rhoda Onyancha said the number of those rescued still remains at 95 and arrests at 37. Our forensic team was able to exhume 12 bodies today, but we have not reported any rescues, adding that the search is ongoing. Throughout this week, authorities have been digging up shallow graves scattered in the forest as they look for remains. They also scanned the area for any survivors, as hundreds of people are still missing. Those reported missing by their loved ones stand at 613. Now get this, guys. The 613 that have been reported missing by their loved ones have not been identified. The 403 that have been exhumed, save the ones that have been found this week, have all autopsies have been done on all of them by Johansen Odoor's office. And it does not count for the 613 that have been said to be missing by their family members. You get what I'm saying? So the possibility of an additional 600 bodies, at least.
Wait. No, I don't get what you're saying.
Okay.
600 is those that have been
are those
for family members who have reported their kin missing.
There were 685 at some point.
Yes.
Okay? Right now, that number has come down to 613.
Okay. Which means 85 minus 13 have been
85
identified.
have been identified by Odoor's office. Okay? Now, 403 bodies have been found. There was a time, you remember, when the exhumation ceased.
Yes.
Because the autopsies were being carried out. They said, let's carry this out and see who they are.
Autopsies, not identification.
So identification, actually. Let's find out and confirm who they are.
Okay.
All right? Now, a match has not been done between finding out who they are and who these people say are missing.
Okay.
So that is yet to be established.
Okay.
So from this 613, it suffices to say that until one of the bodies then that has been identified is matched to a name on this list, this individual is still unfound.
Yeah.
Okay.
So what we have is 400 plus that have been exhumed.
403.
Autopsies have been done, but identification has not concluded.
Yes.
So it's possible that these 400 are among the 600 that have been reported.
It is possible. Until and unless we are told that there is a match between those that have been found and identified and those family members who are complaining of their missing kin, you cannot now make that conclusion. Now, she further said that those who had undergone DNA sampling stand at 253. This is out of the 403 that had been found. All right?
Yep.
Onyancha said exhumation will continue deeper into the forest where Mackenzie resided. Last month, Kenya Defence Force soldiers were deployed to demarcate the 50,000 hectare Chakama Ranch under which Shakahola falls to help in the search and rescue operation. Earlier, Interior Cabinet Secretary Kithure Kindiki said the Shakahola massacre was a well-calculated murder. He suggested Mackenzie, who is in police custody pending investigations, might be charged with terrorism or genocide-related offences. For me, I'm stuck on what this detective said, that they have seen horrible things. They have seen bizarre things. But for this one, they say, this is a terrible kind of evil. To see the ropes where young children were tied so that they could not get anything to eat. 403 people, the majority of them Kenyans, are dead and buried in this place. We do not know how many more are under the ground. They found 40 new mass graves. Ask yourself, what does a mass grave mean where more than one person has been buried? They don't know how many more they will find. They're nowhere near half of the expanse of land in terms of covering and seeing where these bodies have been buried. It shakes me to my bones because this is unbelievably horrible.
You know what I find truly troublesome is what you're saying. But in addition to that, when a horror such as this one is accompanied by the living conditions that people have to endure on a daily basis, terrible as this situation is, it then has competition for which is more severe. Now the problem with all this is that at some point we normalize these things. So we're no longer bothered by it.
But we're numb.
Yes.
You're numb to the fact that people have died in a very grotesque manner.
Yes.
But, okay, they'll tell us the number
died.
tomorrow. They've died.
Yes,
if
and
there's more tomorrow,
and you sort
all
of
right.
push it aside.
Yeah.
And this is something gruesome. It's not a walk in the park. It isn't your average, everyday situation that you can say, But if you were to compare what the Shakahola massacre is and the thinking behind it, and you mirror it against the thinking of the political leadership in this country, do you see a difference?
No.
Children were tied to prevent them from accessing food, and they died. People were starved to death. Some were bludgeoned to death. Now, people are dying. They died in large numbers over a period of time. But everything that we see regarding what now we are being told is going to be a demonstration, to be told demonstrations, the rhetoric preceding it. Now, the drums of war that we're talking about yesterday, I now hear it. People in different places, the rhetoric is violence. Violence, violence, violence. Now the problem is, violence begets violence, and then when does it end? And this isn't one of those situations where you have a small political problems, you have an electoral tiff. No. Against this the backdrop of this narrative, there are real problems, and they are biting problems, and they are enduring. Those who are given to prayer, there's no better time than now.
I'm telling you.
To pray, because we are not heading towards the precipice, we are at a precipice.
Not to jump off the edge, man.
Yes. This one, we're being nudged closer and closer, and we also seem to be as citizens willingly walking towards that edge.
It's like we have no power. We are completely powerless.
Yes. But are we really powerless? Or have we decided to be powerless? In 2007, 2008, remember when we had this problem of the electoral problem that led to the extreme violence within certain communities in this country, and it spread to the major towns.
Yeah.
Okay? People forget that the genesis of that was an earlier time in the 1992, around that time, when the people started clamoring for multipartism. The leadership of President Moi, somehow within that presidency came up something called tribal clashes. And for some reason, it seemed to focus around just two communities. And two communities seemed to be the target. Now, the eventuality of those clashes are what we saw in 2007, because you start a narrative and you actually accompany it by some action. Some of the people who were perpetrating the gruesome acts in 2007, those are 2008, those are people who had been children in an earlier time. So what do you think got them to a point where they didn't think it was unusual to murder their neighbors? Neighbors, people you've grown up with.
Anyway, we've got the power. Let me tell you what's happened to Bishop Dare. A Nairobi court has acquitted televangelist Gilbert Juma Dare in the child trafficking and miracle babies scandal for lack of evidence. Senior Principal Magistrate Robert Ondieki freed the preacher after the prosecution failed to prove the allegations that he had stolen 5 children. He says, after evaluation of the evidence adduced by the 26 prosecution witnesses, 64 exhibits, and the defense of Mr. Dare, I find no evidence was adduced linking the accused person to the charges of child stealing. I therefore acquit him. Dare had been charged with 5 counts of stealing 5 children, all under 14 years, between 2002 and 2004, at Mountain View Estate in Nairobi. The prosecution had alleged that the preacher committed the offense together with others not before court. His trial in court commenced in 2017. He was accused of stealing children in 2004. His trial began 13 years after that.
Mm-hmm.
Okay? And the court has acquitted him how many years after that? 8 years after the trial began. Okay. Can you imagine? The court concurred with his defense that the prosecution did not table evidence to show that at the time he was abroad, he gave instructions to anybody to keep the 5 children in his house at the estate. It comes after 11 years after another court in Kibera acquitted Dea's wife, Mary, of similar charges. She had been accused of procuring registration of birth or certificate of the births of 5 children at Grace Medical Clinic and Maternity Home and New Gadesha Estate Nursing and Maternity Home, but she was convicted of stealing a baby in 2005 at KNH and giving false information to Dr. James Carrier that she had given birth to that baby. Okay?
Okay.
That is what happened to the Deas. Now, what is happening to Lillian Omolo? Lillian Bogo Omolo was the PS for NYS. Now, Nairobi court has allowed the withdrawal of a second case against her on grounds that it was an application by the DPP. Senior Principal Magistrate Peter Okoh allowed the application, saying it's in the interest of justice and that of the public if the matter is discontinued at this juncture. The DPP had applied to withdraw the charges against Omolo, saying that none of the witnesses who the DPP had brought to court had testified in the cases had implicated Omolo directly or indirectly.
So how they...
DPP brought witnesses to court.
Right.
Witnesses testified before court.
Yes.
Sworn affidavit and all. But then DPP realizes, wait a minute, none of them is actually implicating her.
So,
directly or indirectly.
So what had they come to
I have
witness?
a question. Where were they going? To the beach? Was it not for that case that there were supposed to be witnesses? Do you not have a conversation with a witness as the DPP,
as the prosecutor
before the person appears in court?
Yeah.
Are you not supposed? Abi, how do they do it?
What were they what were they witnesses for? Or
yeah. Or was it for something else?
You know, people change, eh? At the point when you procure witnesses, they tell you one story.
All of them.
And then they go to court, and their stories change. Pop, pop,
all of them.
All of them.
Pop, yes.
Okay. It seems to be open season for the dropping of cases, doesn't it?
Yes.
So I mean, let's just keep it season. The season will end.
While asking the court to drop the charges, Senior Principal Prosecution Counsel Vera Hamisi said some of the payments were made in the 2013-2014 financial year when NIS was under the Ministry of Devolution, and submitted that the payments were conducted before Omolo was appointed. And after she took office, she appointed a committee to verify all pending bills. 12 witnesses had so far testified out of 42 that the prosecution intended to call. So at this point, the DPP realizes, wait a minute, first of all, I'm charging her. She wasn't in office at the time. It wasn't under her docket. Second of all, when she came in, she actually instituted a committee to verify pending bills. So she did nothing wrong. And then the 12 witnesses that have testified so far out of the 42 that have lined up have so far indicated that there is really nothing that Ms. Omolo did. So can Ms. Omolo sue the state?
Yeah.
Under these circumstances, yes.
Yes.
How did you know, this is what we say about the DPP's office. How do you actually begin a case and then you come and realize, wait.
Is it the same DPP who realized
and then
it?
You actually open your mouth to say it.
Yeah.
Imagine
at the time the time that I'm accusing her of stealing, this thing was not under her docket. He is not the one who was involved.
So something so simple you didn't check.
And then even these witnesses that are coming, they are all telling a different story. You not talk to them.
You didn't talk to them. You didn't do the due diligence. I agree with the magistrates who say, you know what, don't bring this thing here if you know you don't have sufficient evidence. Stop wasting our time. How long has Omolo's name been dragged through everywhere? Whether she did it or not, that's not even the issue.
Yep.
That's not even the issue, whether she did it or not. Now you say you have evidence. Where is it, Onge? Okay. Then you say where is it? Then now you're coming to tell us actually the time where this money is said to be missing, the lady was not actually in office. Come on. How do you not figure that out at the time? I bet they should leave us alone. They should actually leave us alone.
Lilian Omolo should sue the DPP.
How long has she been in court?
Well, this case has been going on for long.
How years, Abi? Look at all that time. When you hear Lilian Omolo, you hear and you know, this one's stolen, guilty, gone, isn't it?
NYS.
Now you come and say later, and her name has already been dragged through the mud.
Her name is synonymous with the NYS.
Exactly. Her name is synonymous with that. Her name has been dragged through the mud. You think how she'll be able to get any kind of employment later?
I always think of the children.
The children in school.
These kids went to school the following day after their mother was arrested and paraded before TVs.
Yes.
And the prosecution said she's tall.
In fact,
right?
That whole,
These children were facing their fellow kids in school.
Say your mother is a thief. But that's how they say it, is it not?
Yeah. And even if they're not
telling
telling you directly, you know, the children,
themselves.
you can just tell those kids are talking about us, those kids are talking about us. The trauma that the children have gone through.
I know, and I understand it because they're friends of mine with whom we grew up in Nakuru. There was a scandal in the 70s about tusks.
Elephant tusks.
Elephant tusks. A large consignment of it. It was in the papers. Their mother's name was mentioned.
Bas.
Some clever person. Ivory Brothers.
Bas.
Man. That case did not actually find them guilty. If I remember correctly. But in some people's minds, it stuck.
Finish. You're on the gallows, man.
And children are merciless.
Mean.
Man. You feel for your friend.
Yeah.
Because this mother that was being spoken of, I also knew.
I imagine. You imagine what that Hart family has gone through.
She should actually sue the state.
Yes.
Nonsense.
In such cases where you're coming and you're completely changing your story.
Imagine you as the one who's bringing the case. Now you're changing your story. No.
Those people who are changing their stories also should be arrested.
Yes.
But you know, while we're at it, why don't we just arrest the DPP as well? Because
that's the first one.
That's the first one. He's the one.
The first one. The DPP should be sued
because all this,
they didn't. The office of the DPP did not do due diligence.
More to the point, Eric. Look at the damage that it does the reputation of that office. Then it means we can't trust anything coming out of that office.
Because you're going to ask the questions. Okay, so all the cases that are before court today that have been brought by the DPP.
How do we know?
How do we know they are worth their salt?
Yes.
How?
In fact, those ones are not even worth their weight in salt. They're probably worth their weight in ashes.
You have a minute, City.
I have a minute?
Yes.
Well, it's very good. I'm going to sing a song.
We should not listen to the voice. We should listen to the words.
You focus on the words.
Okay.
All right? You know, today I'm at a bit of a loss because everything that I'm looking at here has to do with Azimio, Ruto. Hardliners, non-hardliners. Bueno, let's just go on to the...
Let me tell you very quickly.
Quickly.
Nakhumicha is being sued in court, right? And they're saying the reason why is because she has promoted junior doctors. A Nakuru doctor has filed a case at the High Court against Health Cabinet Secretary Susan Nakhumicha for promoting junior officials to senior management positions in the ministry, thus placing them above their superiors, saying it's likely to compromise service delivery. Dr. Benjamin Magari Gikenyi alleges that the appointments of the officials through a memo dated April 19th puts the junior officers in the awkward position of having to supervise their superiors. So he said, this cannot do. It'll never do. So he went to court and said, you know what? These appointments, stop it. There's a way we do things around here and you must follow. CS or not. So it's going to be interesting to see whether the law or principle that an officer shall not supervise his superior colleagues is so cardinal that it will be upheld by the court.
We need to hear what the CS has to say.
Indeed, we do.
She will present her defense in court. Hiya, keep it right here. It's 7 a.m. The next hour we talk about Shokom Sobas.
Spice up your life.
morning, this is Newswire. I'm Dennis Aseto. The death toll from the Shakahola cult massacre has risen to 403 after 12 more bodies were exhumed, according to Coast Regional Commissioner Rhoda Onyancha. Exhumations are set to continue today. Onyancha says so far 37 more suspects have been rescued, with 258 DNA samples having been analyzed. Police are in the fourth phase of exhumation in the ongoing probe into a cult whose members are said to have starved themselves in order to meet Jesus. Followers of preacher Paul Mackenzie were buried in the forest located in Chakamaranch after starving themselves to death. Now, the Azimio la Umoja One Kenya coalition leaders have accused the government of hiring militia to attack the protesters during the 3-day anti-government protest later this week. The opposition coalition lawmakers led by National Assembly Minority Leader Nyeri alleged that the Kenya Kwanza Alliance parliamentary group meeting chaired by President William Ruto organized plans to meet violence on opposition supporters. In a statement, the opposition lawmakers claimed that Kenya Kwanza Alliance MPs had been issued instructions to recruit youth from their constituencies to counter the Azimio protesters during the demonstrations. This as the government has withdrawn security attached to Azimio la Umoja party leader Raila Odinga ahead of his planned anti-government protest starting Wednesday, that is tomorrow. Security withdrawn includes more than 10 police officers that protect him on his daily duties, as well as those guarding his homes in Nairobi, Kisumu and Siaya. Wiper leader Kalonzo Musyoka and more than 50 Azimio MPs have also had their security withdrawn by the state. Odinga had Sunday raised concerns over claims that the government has hatched a plot to harm the Azimio leaders when they lead the demos this week. And Azimio says that the demos will stop once the government brings down the cost of living, led by Minority Leader Nyeri. They say the government keeps accusing them of failing to provide solutions to the rising cost of living, yet it's their responsibility.
Kenya Kwanza claims that the protests are not about the cost of living. In their view, the cost of living is not so high as to warrant protests. That is how a regime that has abandoned people's agenda thinks. Because Kenya Kwanza does not seem to understand or know how hungry and angry Kenyans are. People want food. People don't eat government, legitimate or illegitimate. Give them food and they leave the streets.
As far as we know, Kenyans have never asked for funds to be launched. Kenyans have specifically asked for the cost of goods to come down and taxes to be reduced. But Kenya Kwanza is talking about deficit and funds. People don't care. All that the people want is food.
ODM Secretary General Edwin Sifuna on his part claims that there have been more than 1,000 attacks on the Azimio signature collection website.
They are crying and saying, oh, this signature thing is going nowhere. But they are actively sabotaging the collection of signatures. We have had over 1,000 attacks on our website that is being used for collection of signatures. They have even cloned the website to try and confuse our supporters. But we are saying Kenyans want to eat, and they want to eat today. It doesn't matter how long you cover your ears. Tutapiga hiyo masikio kofi mpaka ifunguke. Usikie kilio ya Wakenya.
And the political party's liaison committee has issued a call for national dialogue amidst the ongoing posturing and confrontational stance between the government and the opposition regarding the nationwide protest. The party's body emphasized the importance of engaging in constructive and inclusive discussions to address the current situation and find a way forward for the country. The opposition leader Raila Odinga is spearheading a series of anti-government protests and is preparing for a 3-day demonstration starting tomorrow. Now, Kisumu Governor Professor Anyang' Nyong'o has disclosed that he underwent a successful delicate spinal cord surgery at the Jaramogi Oginga Odinga Teaching and Referral Hospital last week. Governor Nyong'o said he took the opportunity to seek medical services at the referral hospital as a way of expressing confidence in local medical facilities. Nyong'o says he has had a recurring severe pain in his spine. He noted that the referral hospital annually hosts a team of international neurosurgeons who perform different surgeries at the facility. Nyong'o says his family had preferred to have him operated in hospitals in Nairobi, but he chooses to have it carried out in Kisumu. And Athman Abdullahim Hussein has been appointed as the country's new chief Qadi. Athman was appointed by the Judicial Service Commission from among 5 candidates shortlisted for the position. He replaces Sheikh Ahmed Mukhtar, who retired after 12 years of service and attaining the mandatory 60 years retirement age. The JSC thanks Kenyans for the participation in the recruitment and selection process. I'm Dennis Aseto. Good morning.
All right, looks like it's going to be a busy Tuesday morning. There's traffic on Jogoo Road heading out to the city. Landis Road is not doing too poorly right now. It'll take you into town right around Kamkunji without a problem. On the Thika Superhighway, everybody is out. Everybody and their dog is on the Thika Superhighway this morning trying to get into the city. We're looking at Kiambu Road also following suit. Heavy traffic almost reaching the DCI headquarters, and that's really early for this time. The northern bypass is giving traffic through towards Limuru Road. Raka is looking clear for now. It's going to pack up, that we know. And it's also the signs of busy movement on James Gishoro. Coming on to Waiyaki Way. Uhuru Highway is going to be busy. Take it from me. From what we see right now, it's already starting to pile up as you get to the Nyeri Stadium roundabout. Coming in from Lusaka on this side, Aerodrome on the other. Raila Odinga Way is taking off traffic from Langata Road. All right, so business has begun on the roads this morning. Let us know what's going on where you are, just in case you get stuck. Let's see how we can help out with the information that we have. Let's talk on Spice FM, KE on Twitter.
This is The Situation Room, the home of hard-hitting political commentary and penetrating insights about the state of the nation. This is a talk radio experience like no other. The Situation Room, a place for hard truths, debates, and elevated conversations. The Situation Room, witty, political, engaging, deep, controversial. In the room, we have C.T. Muga, researcher, academic, seasoned political observer, a fountain of wisdom in these politically uncertain times. Ndu Okoh, Nigerian by birth, Kenyan by choice, communications expert, Pan-Africanist, a truth seeker and believer in people power, and Eric Latiff, agent provocateur, the man in the chair, seasoned journalist, news hound, a man who believes in punching up, not down. This is The Situation Room, the only way to start your day.
Good morning and welcome to the second hour of Kenya's biggest conversation, The Situation Room. We're live on KTN Home, in addition to being live on Spice FM and online on YouTube and Facebook. Colgate is reminding you to go to Naivas supermarket today or go online and purchase a tube of Naivas. Why, Ndu?
Actually, you should purchase a tube of toothpaste at Naivas.
Not Naivas. Don't purchase a tube of Naivas.
Yes,
it's
might
Colgate.
be a bit difficult, but you know. Once you do purchase that tube, you will actually be able to help in making sure that these 30 water wells are sunk in different parts of the country and then catering to the water needs of 150,000 people. If you buy a tube of toothpaste, part of the proceeds go towards that. And it's making sure that children, it's making sure that families, parents have access to water for their drinking, washing, cooking needs. And then children can be back in school. Health problems essentially start to reduce significantly because of clean, potable water. So how about you buy a tube of toothpaste today and see that those needs are met for 150,000 people around the country.
So starting yesterday, the 17th, going all until the 20th this week, the Employment and Labour Relations Court is having its annual symposium at the KICC, and they're asking you to visit them. If you're an employee, an employer, union leader, union member, you can just go in there and interact with the court and find out what they've done. In the last 10 years of operation as a superior court, the Employment and Labour Relations Court is interacting and engaging with the people, looking back at how they've done in terms of ensuring access to justice for all. We have two guests who are joining us in the Situation Room this morning. Peter Kimathi is a brand manager at a company called Ednah Kenya, and Charles Olo is a suspension system expert from Oriel Limited. Good morning, gentlemen.
Good morning.
Karibuni sana to Kenya's biggest conversation. That's the hot seat of the Situation Room. And, we talked about suspension. Inafa you. In a class suspended. Suspended. Charles, of course, you have to explain to us what suspension is all about, what it entails when it comes to motor vehicles. We know shokom sobas and other things.
The steering wheel.
You know steering wheel?
Yes.
Okay.
Alafu nasikia bushes, you'll tell us what suspension is all about. Karibuni sana.
Thank you.
City, say hi to Charles Kimathi.
Charles Olo.
No, to Peter Kimathi.
Yes, see? Peter Kimathi from Kubu.
Yes, from Kubu.
Written Kubu, but pronounced
Gobo.
Yes.
Gobo.
Ebu msalimie kikwao.
Muga.
Muga mano.
See?
No, you say with your name on your Ndu.
He said, it's the intonation. I am Muga. That's my name. But Muga is now a greeting. Spelled the same. But
You also got Muga as a name.
Yes, but you guys have a double A.
Yeah.
See, so one could assume I come from Meru, and yet I don't. But I know where Meru is.
Right. The day's proverb.
Our proverbs for the day come from the country of Guinea. To have two eyes is a cause for pride, but to have one eye is better than having none.
To have two eyes is a cause for pride, but to have one eye is better than having none.
Yes.
Charles, what do you interpret from this proverb?
Definitely I believe that you better have even one eye. At least it can help you see something, not just rather than just losing all, you become blind.
Peter?
I think in most societies, plenty is cause for pride and untoward behaviors and everything else you might think about. But just enough, I think, is humbling in the way people think or in the way we see things, our life itself. Yeah.
Having the little that you have should be
cause for celebration.
Cause for celebration.
Yeah.
You must not have both. Yeah. Having both is good, but just having half.
Because the alternative is having none.
Having none. Good one. Thank you, Peter. What is ECTA?
Okay. Thank you, Eric. ECTA stands for Engineering, Construction, Transport and Agriculture. Those are the business lines that ECTA is involved in. But in Kenya, it is the holding company for these major companies. Subaru Kenya, it is the most known, I think, due to the brand strength.
Yeah.
And then we have Jack Motors. And then we have Oriel Limited, the suspension people. And those are the three companies I think we'll be talking about today that form ECTA Group.
What is Jack Motors? Because
how do you spell this Jack?
Jack is JAC. It's a long Chinese name, abbreviated as Jack. And Hui Jiangui Automobile Company. And Hui, in China they say Hangui. Okay, but spelled ANHUI.
And Hui Jiangui.
Anhui Jiangui Automobile Company.
Automobile Company.
Yes.
What vehicles do they have on the road?
They have a wide range. I think over 22 models. But in Kenya, we have 5 actually different models. We have double cab pickups, both petrol and electric. We pride ourselves as being the pioneers of the fully electric double cab pickup in Kenya. We also have a 3-ton fully electric powered truck. And then we have a diesel pickup called the T8, 2-liter engine. So if you look at the pickup, we have both the petrol and the full electric version. When you go to the trucks, the same. There's the electric version and the petrol version. And we got 7-ton and 12-ton trucks as well. So it's a wide range, but in Kenya, we got double cab pickups and the light commercial vehicles. Yeah, trucks.
Oh. Both using fossil and electric vehicles.
Yes.
Okay. You'll tell us more about it.
Yeah.
Charles.
Yes.
Suspension. What is suspension when it comes to motor vehicles?
Suspension when it comes to motor vehicle, you see, most of the people just think that suspension is just only shocks and springs, but a suspension comprises several components underneath the vehicle. And it comes on shocks, it comes on coil springs, it comes on bushes, steering, the steering racks, tires. So these are all the components that offer you ride comfort steering control, and even passenger comfort as well.
So even tires are considered as part of suspension?
Yes, tires are considered as part of suspension.
I see. So it's the entire underneath of a car, besides the engine and the gearbox.
Apart from the engine and
everything
the gearbox,
else.
the rest, the bushes, the tie rod ends, the rack ends, the bushings, even the steering rack is part of the suspension.
Essentially, it's the whole car minus the engine
and the body.
Yeah. If I may interject there, it's the old everything that carries the everything called the car. Yeah, all that system connected now to the main body.
Yes,
is what we call suspension.
Yeah,
we have customers who come to our workshop. They had about the Muga test, the machine that just vibrates and all that. Test these shocks for me, but actually it gives more than shocks parameters about what is happening to your suspension. Yeah,
shocks parameter.
Okay. No, it has got more parameters, like he's mentioned, bushes, shocks themselves.
It's a special suspension systems testing machine that gives you a specific percentage of the remaining lifespan of the shock. So you can get to know, you can plan well on how, on when you are going to replace your shocks next time.
Yeah.
And it is the only one of its kind.
Does it only work with the vehicles that fall under your brand?
No.
Okay.
It is for all vehicles. Every vehicle must have a suspension for it to maintain stability on the road.
Okay. Yeah. So if I brought my 1950-year-old car to the Stop Smiling, to your garage, it would be able to.
Yes.
The diagnostics will be the same.
You know, this is just it is just a shock testing machine.
That's it.
It won't detect which year of the vehicle is the vehicle was manufactured. It is just there to test shocks and to give you the feedback.
So why does it matter where you get it? What does one differ one to the other? That I can just still, so my shocks are worn out, I need to get, or my suspension has a problem here or there. What does it matter where you get it, how you get it done, how you get it fixed? Why should it matter one place to the other?
You know, initially there was a number of people that are in the aftermarket spare parts business are not focusing on a specific line. They are just offer solution to any form of maybe body part that you need. But Oriel, we came in to seal the gap and to specialize just specifically on the suspension, and that is our major line is shocks and coil springs, and these are premium products that are meant for local roads here. They come with even warranties, and we also, before we do this, normally, just as Peter said, we do what we call inspection first, and we give you the right feedback of the requirements.
What's the difference between shocks and coil springs?
Okay, shocks, they will always help you on the rebound and the compression. And it helps in the absorption of the shock, just as the name. The coil springs, they suspend the vehicle. The coil springs come in 3 different stages. There is a lowered coil spring, mostly come with the cars from the ex-Japan ones or imports, not only Japan, even from Europe and other sections of the world. And then there are standard coil springs. These are the springs that will at least give you a bit of clearance to just match our local roads. And then there's a segment of raised coil springs, or what people call heavy-duty coil springs. These are mainly meant for those people that want to carry more load and even have a higher family number.
When you hear people talking about, the car that came in, it was too low, so I went and put spacers on the car. What does that mean?
It's still to achieve the same goal, but now it is different because spacers are not fitted as original equipment replacement. Spacers are just fitted to give you a short-term solution for your problem, that they distort the vehicle and even make it more unstable.
Okay.
Yeah.
So what you'd advise is instead of putting spacers, you go and change the coil spring.
Yes.
And put the standard coil spring, as you said.
You see, the good thing with replacing a coil spring is that you are replacing as original equipment, not as just an extra. Yeah.
Something that I'd like to understand. When one hears of shocks, one assumes that all shocks do the same thing and they do the same thing in the same way. Mm-hmm. But from the way you're talking, Charles, it is clear that is not the case. So,
I mentioned something. The issue of spacers is actually illegal. It makes the vehicle very unstable.
It's illegal.
Yeah.
Then how is it that people still...
You'll have problems with the insurance, for instance. Like for our case, warranties won't apply if you have an accident. So it is highly discouraged because that's not the design of the vehicle. However, what he's saying is we have specifically designated springs and shocks to help you increase that clearance, if so you wish, without compromising the stability of the vehicle.
Okay. Yeah. Do I hear you to be saying, therefore, that if my car is low, the clearance is low, and I want to raise it, there are shocks that can do that?
Yes.
And there are springs that can...
Springs and shocks combined, right?
Okay.
Yeah.
Springs and shocks combined can do that?
Yes.
What's the maximum height it can raise the car to while keeping it stable?
Each and every car has got its own specifications. We've got cars we have European cars and Japanese cars, and also now the Chinese cars in the market. And there's just up to a certain... We go as per manufacturing specification. We don't just raise cars for the sake of raising it. And for Japanese cars, depending with the customer requirements, it is not supposed to go beyond 2.5 centimeters when you fit the springs. For European cars, it has to be between 1 to 1.5. The reason why this happens is that some of these vehicles, they are dynamic, and most of the European cars are high-performing vehicles. And the more you raise it, the more you compromise the stability of the car. Yeah. So it has to remain low to accommodate the specifications of the speed that we're getting.
Do I hear to be saying that some of these cars that by their very nature seem to be raised high are less stable than the ones where the center of gravity is which are lower? They're closer to the ground than the other ones?
Yeah, that also works.
Oh dear.
So then why do so many people go ahead and do that? Because usually people do it because, unfortunately, the poor state of roads, so they don't want to graze your vehicle, on the road, right? So that's why you go in and you have that done, so that obviously the vehicle is raised.
Yeah.
And that is one of the first things that your mech will tell you, we can go ahead and do this. But now here you are and you're debunking that thing that everybody has done for the last I don't know how many years. And we're saying essentially that you're compromising the stability of the vehicle by doing that.
And that it's illegal. That's the thing. It's from what Peter said, not only is it illegal.
It is lack of knowledge in this, especially on the suspension industry.
Yeah.
A number of people might think that just by racing, a car must have a specified rating in terms of racing it. You cannot just take a Land Cruiser coil spring and fit on a Toyota Corolla coil spring. Definitely, it will not work. That's why I started by saying that we fit these parts as original equipment replacement, and that's why Oriel Limited came in to fill this gap, to offer what we call the good ride control, which will offer comfort to the passengers and also offer stability to the...
What did you call it? Good ride?
Control.
Good ride control. Yeah. And what exactly is that?
The good ride control comprises of steering stability and passenger comfort.
Okay.
As much as there's a stability on the car has a stability, you must still find it comfortable for you.
The company Oriel.
Yeah.
So what you specialize in is dealing with suspensions.
Yes.
That's what. Is there a specific brand or do you deal with every kind of... Let's be specific, say shock absorbers.
Yeah.
Do you have every shock absorber known to mankind, or are they just some specific shock absorbers that you deal in?
Okay, at Oriel, we have our specific brands. We have Monroe shock absorbers. Monroe originally is from Michigan, USA. And then they have plants across the globe. And that is our major product, and it is a premium product. And then when it comes to coil springs, we source our coil springs from King Springs, Australia. And we don't just source them. We give them our specification for local roads, because it has to be something that has been done research here and is accommodative for our local motorists.
And they all come with the same guarantee?
Yeah.
Is it called a warranty?
King Springs come with lifetime guarantee. Yeah.
Lifetime?
Yes.
Whose lifetime?
Lifetime of the vehicle.
Maybe to add to, okay,
Yes.
sorry, let me finish first.
Yes.
To add to what Charles is saying is that there's this conception that because we are allied to Subaru, we only specialize in Subaru suspension parts. But it's actually for all models that are available in this country. Okay, so we are in touch with the manufacturers for those suspension, and then we are their distributors here in Kenya. Yeah.
But Peter, I would assume that shock absorbers are shock absorbers, or does this vehicle that you specialize in, are the shock absorbers specifically made for Subarus?
Yeah, exactly. And not
specifically made for Subaru.
Yeah. Not only for Subaru, it is for specific model. Okay, like I said, during vehicle development, there's going to the weight of the vehicle, and like the clearance intended, and so they are designed and manufactured to specific for specific use and model. So. Same for other models, other vehicle models. So each model has its own specifications of shock absorbers and just like other components. And now changing is compromises the very integrity intended. Because is the weight the same? No. Is the camper the same? No. Is the design of the suspension the same? No. Okay, because you have like what we call McPherson suspension. Okay, you don't fit the shocks intended for the McPherson suspension on, say, a leaf spring vehicle, like the suspension you find in the pickup.
Yes. Stop.
Yeah.
What is a leaf spring?
Thank you very much.
We came from coils to leaves.
We're now coils to leaves. Shock absorber, now we are leaves.
Yeah, now leaves is actually does the work that the coil spring does. Okay. A leaf is what, you know what a coil spring is?
Yes.
So far we've been
now,
told.
That thing that
is
circular thing.
Yes. Yes, so it carries the weight of the vehicle and allows the bumpiness and all that kind of thing. And then the shock controls that. Now the leaf spring is what you find or see in most pickups at the rear. Okay? Long.
That long metallic thing.
Those many
of them.
There are many of them.
Different lengths.
Different
and
lengths.
curved.
So it does the same thing as a shock absorber.
Yeah. Not as a
spring.
coil spring. Yeah.
Leaf springs are mostly meant for carrying loads and heavy weights, because a coil spring, when exposed to much weight, they always tend to compress and even touch each other. But the leaf springs can carry weight. That's why you will find leaf springs on trucks, on buses, and even on mostly pickups.
So what is it supposed to do? I mean, it's there so that you can carry, but what does it do essentially? Are we talking about it protecting the vehicle then from the potential danger of the heavy load? Or are you saying that then the vehicle can then go for longer because it has this spring, then it can carry this weight for longer, even if you're going through rough terrain, whatever?
Yeah, exactly.
I could be a mechanic.
Exactly, but now for commercial purposes.
Right.
Yeah.
So leaf spring, coil spring, each of those requires a shock absorber.
Yeah, they all require the shock absorber.
And so you can't have the leaf spring
without a shock.
That one I've gotten, but so you can't have it with the coil spring.
Leaf and coil
will not go together.
They cannot go together.
They cannot go together.
But there are cars that you'll find that on the front side it is using coil spring, and the backside it is leaf springs.
Why?
Just because of the weight that especially Land Cruisers, the ones that you see with the tour farms.
Off-road ones.
Yeah.
Yes.
All of them. They have a coil spring in the front to offer. Coil spring offers more comfort than the leaf springs. Yeah. So the leaf spring, the reason why the leaf spring is there is just because you'll find that there are passengers at the back, and at the same times there are luggages and several things. So it is only the leaf spring that can accommodate that.
Okay, and so for the comfort that you speak of, is the comfort for the folks who are sitting in the vehicle, or is it comfort for the vehicle itself not to be harmed by terrain, as it were, or by the load?
It is both.
Okay.
Yeah,
all right.
It is both. The passengers have to feel the comfort, and the vehicle also has to be comfortable.
Yes, think of
the bags of potatoes
inside.
Inside.
Now, think of the wheelbarrow when you push it over a bump. It's very hard.
Yes, it bounces.
Right now, the springs, coil spring or leaf springs, will allow that bounce. Okay. But that bounce must be controlled. That's the job of the shock absorber.
You suggest to align that wheelbarrow should have springs.
If need be.
At least some form of shock absorber.
Because for clarity, when the shock absorbers are worn out, what happens? The vehicle?
Wheelbarrows I saw some wheelbarrows in Congo that have shock absorbers. They are used to transport people.
I see.
The wooden wheelbarrows.
For comfort.
Offer them. And it is one shock absorber.
Okay. You've actually touched on something, how to know when your shocks are worn out.
Yes.
And then you come now to Oriole. Yes. We have our two guests in the studio.
Sorry.
Charles and Peter are smiling, and both of you know about Colgate. And we've been talking about Colgate for a while now. Colgate has looked around the country, listened to its customers, and understood that there are many who would like to smile, but they don't smile. Why? Because they don't have access to water. Okay? So Colgate has teamed up with Naivas Supermarket, and they're saying, walk into Naivas any time of day, Peter. Go there, buy Colgate. Okay? Once you buy Colgate, part of that money that you've used to buy Colgate, it's at no extra cost or anything for you, but the money that you've used to buy Colgate, part of it is going to sinking 30 water wells that will benefit about 150,000 lives. Okay? Now you can imagine there are areas where they don't have access to water. You come from Gobo, which is lush, green, beautiful, water is plenty. You have a river on this side, a river on the other side. Now there are people who don't have those kind of rivers. So just support them. Walk into Naivas, buy Colgate.
Message received.
Evo too. And for you, Charles, Ndu has something for you to watch come Thursday.
Showmax.com. You've heard of it?
Definitely do.
Now, there's a program called Faithless. It's the latest original title. It's about a girl called Esther and her 3 friends, and they found a fortune. Well, somebody's loss is their fortune. And so they're trying to figure out, do we keep this money? Do we start a business, or do we go and tell the church that we found this money? So they're stuck in between all of this. Turns out that Esther's brother is caught up in this crime ring where this money actually came from, right? And so now they're trying to figure out, how do they keep the money while remaining righteous and also keeping their brother out of trouble? It's the stuff that drama is made of, and it's on Showmax.com. If you're not on Showmax, get on, subscribe, pay, and then start to watch the next episode of Faithless. Loads this Thursday.
26 minutes to 8. Time for that break. We have two guests. Peter Kimathi is the brand manager at Ednah Kenya. Ednah is the holding company for Subaru Kenya, Jack Motors, and Oriole Limited. And we have Charles Olo from Oriole Limited. He's a suspension systems expert. They're here to tell us the importance of thinking about suspension of our vehicles. Any brand of motor vehicle that you're thinking of, that you're driving today, that you're thinking of buying, just take it to Oriole. They'll tell you how good the suspension is, and then they'll advise you what to do. Okay? They can do a plan for you. They'll tell us about a payment plan as well. Time for that break. We'll be back shortly. Okay.
This is the Situation Room, the only way to start your day.
Yolanda Mulwa, DJ Absolute. When the gang is together, got the sugar, got the spice.
Yorada.
Yes.
I have missed you like hot hamburgers. Eh?
Like hot hamburgers.
You know, bad boys give more money than you can count.
Hey, bad boys give more money than you can count. If it's fun, it's funky, it's fresh, you're definitely going to catch it here. I don't know what you do every day from 11 a.m. to 3 o'clock, but if I were you, I'd tune in to
Sugar and Spice only on 94.4 Spice FM, Nairobi.
So if you say it's on, then it's on. 12, highs of 22 and lows of 11. At 14 degrees, sunny in Nakuru, highs of 26. And we'll see highs of 22 in a sunny Nyeri at 13. It's 13 and sunny in Eldoret, highs of 24 and lows of 11. While Mombasa is sunny already at 23, we'll see highs of 28. We'll also see highs of 28. In a sunny Malindi at 25. It's sunny at 19 in Kisumu, highs of 31 and 29 will be the high. In a sunny Kakamega at 17. It's 21 degrees and sunny in Kampala, highs of 27. And we'll see highs of 29 in a mostly cloudy Dar es Salaam at 24. It's 11 degrees and cloudy in Johannesburg, highs of 20 and lows of 6. And at 26, Lagos is cloudy. It'll go to highs of 30 and lows of 25. 21 degrees and mostly cloudy in Kinshasa. We'll see highs of 33.
Mature, intelligent talk every morning. Done right. 94.4 Spice FM, Nairobi.
It's busy on the Thika Superhighway, heavy as you come towards the junction, coming in through towards Outer Ring. It's going to be heavy as you go towards the Pangani Underpass. And we're looking at some traffic also quite some on Kiambu Road today as you come through towards Muthaiga Square. All right, on Limuru Road this morning, coming in from Ruaka and Kitisuru. United Nations Avenue, packing up all as you get towards Muthaiga and then through towards Wangari Maathai Way. Pick your poison, Wangari Maathai or going then through towards the Pangani Underpass. Either way, you'll get into the city, you'll get there slower, but you will. On James Gishuru, there's traffic going towards Wayaki Way. We're seeing some of that heavy. And also on North Airport Road, way on the other side of things, going towards the Eastern Bypass. Some traffic on Outer Ring. All right, Tuesday morning, starting out essentially into traffic hour right now. Let's see what happens in a short while. Talk to us. Spice FM KE on Twitter.
Mature, intelligent talk every morning. Spice up yourself. Mornings done right.
All right.
94.4 Spice FM, Nairobi.
Hector Kenya and suspension expert from Oriole Limited, Charles Solo. Charles, so besides just the conversation about the springs and the shock, there are all these other things: tire rod ends, bushes, racks, and the tires themselves. I mean, you go to a mechanic and they'll just throw anything, any word at you. Hizo tire rod ends, hizo ndio maana. When you're going to a mechanic, what should you listen out for? Or when you're driving a vehicle, what is it that you should be feeling so that you know, I can tell what's wrong with my car?
Most of the time, the reasons why people visit mechanics is because maybe someone was hearing a certain noise from the car. Maybe the car was bouncy, or maybe he has checked his service tag and he's found that the car requires service. Those are things that take you to the mechanic. But it is important that when you reach your mechanic, you request him to also help you check your car and find out if there's still some other causes of defects in the vehicle. And a number of times you will find that people are misled. And that was the reason why we introduced even the Muller test that Peter talked about, just to give you the accuracy of the condition of your shocks. And at the same time, when you want to know whether the shocks are on, there are three different signs. There will either be a leakage that is visibly seen. There will be a noise maybe coming from when you are driving, or there might be a malfunction on the shock, which means that the rebound and the compression is not working properly. Those are very important. But when it comes to coil springs,
so when you push press the vehicle down, assuming it's a small vehicle, and you can press down, it doesn't
bounce the way.
Bounce back.
Yes. But when it comes to coil springs, the three 2 or 3 signs of a worn-out coil spring will always be seen on someone that has already fitted the spacers to achieve the height, or the car is stiff and is not, the compression is compromised, or there is a bulging at the back of the car. Wherever you carry someone, the car sags, and it's like it is riding on tires. Yeah, those are the signs of weak coil springs. Very, very important to check. But a number of times I tell my clients that you just don't fit what you want to fit on the car. It's always important to fit what the car needs. And that is the most important part of checking the car before you do anything.
What happens if you don't replace them?
It will always compromise the stability, the safety of your car.
How? You know why I ask it in this manner?
Yeah.
It's because oftentimes accidents happen on the road.
Yeah.
Because of the unworthiness of a vehicle at a certain level.
Yes.
There may have been things that have happened that have been ignored over time, and you hear a certain sound, you're not quite sure, should I tinker with this or what should I do? You know if your vehicle is not operating at optimal level, you know.
Yes.
So sometimes you also can ignore it, isn't it? And you say, well, okay, good golly, I'm not going to do this now, I can do it later. And so sometimes you don't replace a part, you don't replace something. What could happen to a vehicle, for example, if you do not replace it? You can hear the sound, but you can ignore it, right? Because how long will you be in the car, isn't it?
That's a very important question. You know, when it comes to shocks, a shock absorber plays a very vital role on a car. And most of the major accidents that we face, most of the time, we face them due to the worn-out shocks or malfunctioning shock absorbers. Because with the shocks, you will have a good stopping. We have a safety triangle within our frameworks at Oriel that will show you what benefits the shock will always give you. It will give you a good stopping, it gives you a good steering and stability. And if this safety triangle is compromised in any one way or another, definitely you will anticipate accidents. Not only to yourself, also you can even be a major harm to.
You can veer off the road.
Yeah, and it will cause harm even to other motorists. Yeah.
Okay, if I may add on that, you see, like you said, the discomfort starts with you. You can actually visibly, or notice that something is wrong. In general terms, worn-out shocks and all that will affect everything from braking distance, vehicle stability, steering. We have what you call understeer or oversteer. It means you're not, stable around the corners and all that. On bumpy roads, again, it's more pronounced. The bumpiness, all these things. The vehicle is not actually having the right traction on the road. So all these things actually compromise your safety on the road.
Fair on to many things. Moving on away now from suspension, jack motors, Peter. I've seen the double cab pickup.
Yes.
And they opened the bonnet.
Yes.
And there was no engine.
Yes.
It was a whole lucky thing there that they said, okay, this is what is driving the car.
Yes.
Electric mobility is something that is gaining traction in this country.
Yes.
So just tell us and introduce us to these jack motors, double cab, electric.
Thank you so much. And I think I'll go beyond by thanking the Standard Group being at the forefront of the green energy, in Kenya. And we've been good partners this far. Basically, the world is going green, and we are privileged to have this model in Kenya, which is fully electric driven. Obviously, people remember way back, people were automatic cars from manual transition.
Yeah.
That fear that it won't take me where I want. What I want to say is that it is fully...
The gearbox will,
it'll snap, something like that. So we have similar concerns. However, I think because there's availability of knowledge these days, very many platforms for information dissemination, the traction is really fast. And also we have government also supporting the whole green energy movement through support the 10% excise duty as opposed to 25 to make it more affordable for more people to have the uptake. Currently, the reception is very good, both from individuals and the government itself, where even the KenGen have already purchased some units from us. And it is for obvious reasons. Number one, obviously being environmentally friendly. Number two, it is cost friendly. We've done the maths. That for a full charge, particularly for a pickup, which will take you to up to 350 kilometers, you immediately save up to 4,000 shillings of the equivalent fuel that you'd have put for that range of kilometers. Given an average vehicle, pickup or double cab does 40,000 a year, we calculate that one it actually adds up to
40,000 kilometers.
Yeah, and it actually turns to be around 250,000 that you are saving, and over 5 years it translates to 2.6 million shillings savings over time. So you see, over time you are saving immediate cost, and long term even more. Also, the issue of service. Ordinarily, you take your vehicle for service, or that periodically after 5,000.
Yeah.
With the Jack Electric, you don't need all that. Okay.
What do you mean?
Yes.
So the ordinary service, I'll change the oil.
Yeah.
I'll change the filters.
Yeah.
I'll change the spark plugs.
Yeah.
I'm not doing any of this in the electric.
Yeah. Not doing any of those in your electric vehicle.
You're saying it doesn't need servicing?
It does need servicing. You check your brakes, you check your suspension, you check your hubs, those kind of things. But we see now there's a whole component of the drivetrain that, which was a major component of service, the engine and the gearbox. Yeah.
Where are we charging these vehicles?
We supply them with the chargers. However, Kenyans,
Type C.
Can I borrow yours?
There are several types. The commercial, there's one that will do 3 hours, another 8 hours, another 16 hours. Basically, we're supplying them with the chargers. However, you have seen Kenyans run away with these new developments by installing their own chargers. Major towns already, people, private investors, installing chargers all over. In major shopping malls like their center, all that. So wherever you go, then you find a charging port.
Peter, I'll just pause for a single second.
Yes.
Electricity, you're charging it, steamer.
Yes.
Okay. Why do you need a special place to charge it, and yet we have electricity in our houses? Why can't I just have... provide me
an
with
extension cable,
so that when I park it, like as I'm charging my phone, I also charge my car.
Yeah, it is provided, and you can actually do that, only that it takes longer. So that's why we encourage. Why? Because the fast charger, just like first of all, it's expensive, almost $500,000. Number two, requires electricity to be 3-phase, which is not found everywhere. And that's why where there's 3-phase, like now I've mentioned charging stations that people are installing, you find out there the fast chargers, the commercial DC fast chargers.
These fast chargers, what do they have? Do they have a step-up transformer that enables? That's what they have.
Yes, to enable them charge very fast.
Okay.
Yeah.
So Peter, how fast are we talking about here? So you're going down the highway. You can see that your needle, if it was fuel, right, is going towards. You need to go obviously and fuel your car.
Yes.
The same thing I would imagine that you see a chargeometer in your vehicle and you can see where the charge is.
Exactly.
And you're in the middle of Savo.
And you're all right, okay, you're in Savo.
Yes.
Yeah, you're in Savo.
Where are you going and how long does it take to at least get you to now what do you say, half charge? Half 50%?
Half charge.
And how long will it take you? I don't know if that question is jumbled.
But I understand what you mean.
Yeah.
The thing is, just like the fuel, you'll be observing the level, okay, as you travel and all that, and plan accordingly. Yes, you're in Savo, and there's no charging station, then you'll need to use the home charger, what you call the emergency charger,
backup charger,
which is in the vehicle, but it take longer. Yeah.
So how long? Sorry, is a full tank?
The same question. Yes.
How long is a full tank? Full charge
on
the vehicle? How long is a full charge taking you in terms of kilometers? kilometers?
350 kilometers.
350 kilometers.
Currently. But we know
on the double cab jack pickup.
On the double cab jack pickup.
Okay.
But we know the rapid development around the electric batteries for electric powered vehicles.
Yeah.
We have been from hybrid doing just 60 kilometers, then 100 kilometers. We are 350 very fast. And we anticipate actually by September we get a battery that can get you to up to 500 kilometers. That effectively up to Mombasa.
But so if you're charging domestically, you say it will take long.
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah.
How long?
How long from zero to full charge will take you around 16 hours. However, ordinarily, you won't be charging your vehicle from zero. Yeah, particularly if you are, running,
town runner.
Yeah, town running, or not every day is a safari day.
Yeah.
And then you find also a lot of them are commercial vehicles, maybe distribution.
Yeah,
like you distributing papers here and all that. You could use our trucks and the vans. We also have the vans coming. So, I mean, you rarely do 300 kilometers in a day.
And how much do these the electricity petrol stations where you charge your vehicle?
Yes.
How do they charge, or how do they determine what it is to charge, how to charge, and what you're charging, and how much is it?
Kilowatts, they measure the kilowatts. For instance, I think I've got figures here. 1 kilowatt will cost you about 25 shillings.
How do I know a kilowatt is a kilowatt?
There's a measure. There's a meter there.
Who makes that measure? Because
how do you know, City?
How do I know that it's a kilowatt?
How do you know a liter is a liter when you're fueling your vehicle today?
Because I can see the liquid. And there's a measure.
You can see the liquid?
Yes, I can see the liquid.
Where?
Especially when I put it in a 5-liter jerry can.
No, you're fueling your car, boss. You open the thing at the back, you're sitting in your car.
Oh, that's easy.
How do you know that?
Oh, that's easy.
A liter
that's
is a
easy.
liter.
Because of the use, I've used, it's lived experience.
Yeah.
When I am told it is 5 liters, I have an idea how long that car will run. I know. Okay? And it's experience over a period of time. And in a younger time, when some of the gadgets in the vehicle I had then didn't work, it was always important to have support system in the boot. So I knew that this was 3 liters of vehicle, of fuel.
So also use the gauge, right?
Yeah, no.
Sometimes when
the gauge
when
wasn't
it's
working.
When it's half liter, I know. I mean, when it's 2 liters, I know how far the gauge moves.
Yes.
And you're also reading.
Yes.
But mostly you trust the pump. You see the pump.
No. That's the point. No. This thing is new, and you see, we are being held at ransom here because I actually don't know. Everything you're telling me, I'm supposed to go by faith. Okay, that when you say
it's fully charged.
It's fully charged with 10 kilometers, kilowatts. Yes, that is what is in the car. So I will drive it until it stops. Then I will know the 10 kilowatts are now over.
Yes, the thing is okay, assumption of goodwill is good, but also remember the car also has got, it's also metered, the gauge inside. It will show you exactly what is happening inside.
It will show me.
Yeah, the number of liters. It will also
shows you full bar.
It will rise.
It will rise.
Kilowatt liters.
Yeah,
so even as
kilowatts.
I add, it's just
the level of charge and the balance will show everything else.
Okay.
Yes.
All right.
Yeah.
How much they charge per kilowatt?
Yes.
How much?
About 25 shillings.
And how many do you need to fill your tank?
Like for me, I need 25 and 65, and that will set you back just 1,000 shillings, 1,600 shillings.
1,600.
Yeah.
And it
takes you
350 kilometers.
Yes.
So essentially it's 25 shillings per liter. That thing is cheap.
Buana.
Equivalent fuel would be 6,000. Now do the difference. I would say just that trip.
It can't be 6,000 bus for a pickup.
Sorry, remember our pickup is a 2-liter Euro 4 engine that is capable of taking you up to 18 kilometers per liter. That's another advantage that we have.
So the petrol equivalent of this is what you're saying? The diesel equivalent
of this, okay. It will be about 6,000 to go that distance. And I've spent 1,500. So the savings right away, one trip is 4,500.
That's a lot. That's quite something.
Yeah.
That's quite something. Where can people actually get to interact with this car?
We are doing every effort through our online platforms, marketing platforms. Your partners, the Diga Motor Show was coming.
Yes.
So these are the platforms that we are using to create awareness. And like I said, the reception is very good so far.
How can one come and test drive an electric car?
We will give our contacts, and you just need to book online or through the phone, and we will arrange a test drive for you.
How far am I allowed to test drive it?
As far as is sufficient to give you the confidence that you need.
Peleka hivi, peleka mpaka iishe battery.
Yeah, go a bit of rough road. You have customers demanding all sorts of things. Peleka kwa mlima.
Yes.
Because they also don't trust it till, climb the
peak and all.
Yeah. The initial doubts.
So are there differences in performance? Apart from just fuel consumption, are there differences in performance between an electric vehicle and a diesel petrol vehicle?
I would say none. If you want acceleration, you get it. If you want power, if you want torque,
but
it is.
We are told they're silent.
Yeah. Obviously, the difference would be in other efficiencies, like no environmental pollution. What else? Like performance in high altitude. High altitude affects the level of consumption in the fossil fuel combustion engines. This one is not affected. You don't have to know.
And if say I'm crossing a river,
boom, all of this flooding.
Yes.
Yeah.
In electricity.
Yes.
What happens?
Yes, electrocuted. The definite answer is no. You need to be electrocuted. Okay. The manufacturer.
Steamer. Unaweza kuwa unakaa kwa gari inakupatia shock na ni gari ni yako.
The manufacturer has taken care of all these, likely incidences, and there's enough, obviously, safety features installed around the battery, fully insulated. Not only that, what if there's an accident, a crash? Let's spark some serious. Remember, this is high voltage. That is, to push that kind of vehicle is high voltage. Will there be a spark that will generate a fire? So obviously there are cut-off switches installed in the car in case of the accident, so that they cut off the battery completely.
Peter, before you go, I want to tell us a little bit about the agricultural aspect of your business.
Agricultural aspect of our business is mainly in Uganda. Where we have a Uganda Tea Corporation, one of the biggest tea producers in Uganda. That's our major agricultural business is based.
So you don't have agricultural equipment, these earth-moving equipment and things like that?
No, just tea farming and marketing.
Tea farming and marketing.
Yeah.
Does Subaru have electric cars?
Yes, they have, but we don't have yet them here in this market. But we expect by 2025 should have them. We have the Subaru Solterra, but currently basically just for Japanese market.
You also sell motorbikes?
But not yet. But in Uganda used to sell, but we stopped. Yeah.
Electric or
no,
petrol?
Petrol. But you see, everybody is going electric. If you look at the Kenyan market right now, I think motorbikes are almost 30% electric. And what happens in Uganda, Kenya, basically happens, will follow in Uganda.
So what do they do with the old engines? Because there's a replacement story we keep hearing.
Yeah.
So what happens with the old engines?
I don't know.
You don't know?
I don't know about it. Yeah.
Sounds like a business opportunity.
It's grave.
Actually,
now, I think you asked about the new Outback.
Yes.
I would like to mention something very small about the new Outback.
Please.
Basically, the Subaru lineup. Obviously, people are used to Subarus that running and all that, those kind of things. But
running very fast.
Running very fast and causing accidents or that. Now, I think our platform currently is Edgement and Peace of Mind, where we talk about confidence in motion. And now all Subarus come with the eyesight, driver assist function, where the vehicle cannot hit a pedestrian or a motorcycle, because if the driver doesn't act, then the system kicks in and actually applies automatic braking.
Oh, nice.
And if it figures out that automatic braking alone won't help the vehicle and avoid the incident, it can actually auto-swerve.
Oh.
And driver monitoring to keep you alert and guiding you how to drive the vehicle. So I'll be engaging you.
And this is available.
It is, yeah.
We can actually come to Subaru Kenya and we'll be able to see the vehicle, interact with the vehicle, test drive the vehicle. Tunakuja.
Karibuni.
Peter Kimathi is the brand manager at Hector Kenya, the company behind Subaru Kenya, Jack Motors and Oreo Limited, and Charles Olo is a suspension systems expert. Keep it here for more, 8 a.m.
Good morning, this is Newswire. I'm Dennis Aseto. The hearing of a case in which former Migori Governor Okoh, his personal assistant Michael Oyamo and Caspar Lubiero have been charged with the murder of Sharon Otieno and unborn baby continued. The first witness appeared before High Court Judge Cecilia Gethua and was not able to connect the alleged vehicle used by the three accused persons. Another witness narrated to the court how a journalist escaped from his alleged kidnappers and ran to his house for refuge. Kennedy Onyango Kasera, who is a taxi driver, said that on September 3rd, 2018 at around 8:30 p.m. he was with his family when he saw someone entering his home. Now, the Environment and Land Court has dismissed a preliminary objection seeking to block the repossession of public land forming part of Mombasa's Moi International Airport. Justice Stephen Kibunja, while rendering a verdict on the matter, said the objection was unmerited. The court also declared a 984.4 million shillings payment made to the National Lands Commission for the compulsory acquisition of land in question illegal, paving way for a suit to recover the funds. The objection was filed as the Ethics and Anti-Corruption Commission sought to recover the parcel valued at 2.4 billion shillings. NLC made the payout after the land was acquired for Standard Gauge Railway and the Dongo Kundu Kipevu Road projects in Mombasa. The grabbed land included sections earmarked for a runway at Mombasa International Airport, Moi International Airport, a United Nations support base, a Kenya military base and its watchtower. EACC sued Mombasa-based East Africa Gas Company Limited, the current registered owner of the land in question, and top officials of both NLC and the gas firm. Still in the corridors of justice, and a court in Garissa issued a landmark ruling that saw a director of a private school within the county slapped with a 35-year jail term for sodomizing a secondary school student. Garissa resident magistrate Shadrach Otuke found Hussein Ali Hassan guilty of robbing the innocence of the 17-year-old boy who was a student at Mwangaza Private Primary and Secondary Schools, where he was also serving as a principal. While delivering his judgment, Garissa resident magistrate Shadrach Otuke said that he was convinced by the evidence presented by the prosecution and sentenced the accused to 35 years in prison. And the Directorate of Criminal Investigations has cautioned the public to beware of a series of fraud cases where fake job advertisements are being circulated through various social media platforms. In a statement, the DCI revealed that Serious Crimes Unit is investigating fake job advertisements purporting that the National Authority for the Campaign Against Alcohol and Drug Abuse NACADA is hiring personnel for various vacant positions. The DCI further noted that unsuspecting job seekers are being duped to forward their applications to an illegitimate email account by a set deadline. It added that after obtaining applicants' personal details, a well-organized ring of fraudsters purporting to be NACADA human resource personnel engaged individual applicants, guiding them through a process of making payments of not less than 1,350 shillings before blocking further communication. The DCI said so far several arrests have been made. And Kenyans living abroad sent home 48.8 billion shillings in June this year, compared to 49.6 billion shillings they sent home in May, representing a marginal decline of 1.6%. Despite the month-on-month decline, latest data by the Central Bank of Kenya indicates that remittance inflows rose 6.1% in June this year when compared to the same month last year, when diaspora remittances totaled 46 billion shillings. According to CBK, cumulative inflows for the 12 months to June remained steady at 566.4 billion shillings compared to 565.7 billion shillings in a similar period in 2022, an increase of 0.1%. Of the $195.7 million worth of inflows from North America during the month, the U.S. accounted for $189.9 million or 26.7 billion shillings. Now, the government projects that projects that the mining industry has the potential to contribute up to 10% of the country's GDP. Trade Principal Secretary Abubakar Hassan said this during the opening of the Kenya Mining Week conference, which serves as a catalyst to foster these projects. Over the next 3 days, industry experts, government officials and geoscientists will convene to explore the opportunities and strategies that will unlock the mining sector's full potential through seeking new ways of value addition in the mineral sector. I'm Dennis Aseto. Good morning.
.5 Spice FM, Kisumu.
All right, at a few minutes after 8 o'clock, we're looking at traffic still busy in most parts of the city. The Thika Superhighway, if you don't have to be there, I urge you not to be. It's very busy, and we're looking at traffic well in from Garden City. As you get past Zimmerman, and then also coming in from Kamiti Road, there's some traffic there getting onto that junction at Kasarani Mwiki. Before that, coming in from Githurai, it's heavy traffic through to the city this morning. We're also looking at Kiambu Road, heavy as you get towards Muthaiga Square. That continues there. Ruaka, Kitisuru, Limuru Road, coming in from Red Hill Link Road, as well as Karura Road. That's all really busy there. On Wayaki Way, you'll see some movement, as well as coming in from James Gishoro. All right, let's look onto the eastern side of the city, where we see North Airport Road clogged up from Cabanas out towards the eastern bypass. It all continues on Outer Ring as well, as Jogo Road still a thing. Okay, and what's this? This is Langata Road, and it's crazy going towards Uhuru Highway, and they're going to connect with Raila Odinga Way, and some traffic then coming into the city. All right, we're in traffic hour proper, and it's likely to continue for some time. Talk to us about what you see, where you see it, and let's keep things moving this morning. Spice FM KE, tweet us there and keep it moving.
This is the Situation Room, the home of hard-hitting political commentary and penetrating insights about the state of the nation. This is a talk radio experience like no other. The Situation Room, a place for hard truths, debates, and elevated conversations. The Situation Room, witty, political, engaging, deep, controversial. In the room, we have C.T. Muga, researcher, academic, seasoned political observer, a fountain of wisdom in these politically uncertain times. Ndu Okoh, Nigerian by birth, Kenyan by choice, communications expert, Pan-Africanist, a truth seeker and believer in people power, and Eric Latiff, agent provocateur, the man in the chair, seasoned journalist, news hound, a man who believes in punching up, not down. This is the Situation Room, the only way to start your day.
Yes, good morning. It's welcome to the third hour of Kenya's biggest conversation, the Situation Room at 8 minutes after 8. We're on to having another conversation right here on Spice FM, on KTN Home, and on YouTube and Facebook. Colgate asks you, go to Naivas, buy Colgate, and what you're doing is helping at least 150,000 people get access to clean, safe water to drink, and especially children who need to go to school and stay in school and not go fetching water, and their communities around them. So just walk into Naivas, or you can also purchase Colgate from the Naivas online platform, and that it will work for you. Ndu. Ati, what is happening about mining now?
So there was an event that started yesterday, and it runs through until tomorrow. All right. So have you heard of the Kenya Chamber of Mines? Yeah, the Kenya Chamber of Mines, together with the Association of Women in Energy and Extractives in Kenya, are having Kenya Mining Week. It's a conference and an exhibition this week. And so what is happening is they're trying to position Kenya as a strategic mining investment destination. All right. So looking at the ways in which this can actually happen through this conference, bringing in stakeholders, bringing in regulators, bringing in value addition propositioners this week, and saying, let's have a conversation looking at the different things. I mean, we look at the story this week of gold in Marsabit. We look at gold in coming out of Western Kenya and other things. And so this week is talking about these opportunities. 300 delegates in Nairobi having this conversation. You can come to this event and look at the invaluable opportunity that lies in the industry and engage with the stakeholders. So it's the 17th
good.
until the 19th.
Very, very good. NCT, so we're still waiting for Thursday for the new episode of Showmax, aren't we?
Yes, but
2 episodes are already in the can and you can watch them today.
They are. But the thing that is outstanding about Faithless, this particular series, is this. You know, there was a time we used to say made in Kenya. So buy Kenya, build Kenya.
Yes.
How people like to mention Hollywood stars. We have our own. And when you watch Faithless, you do not need faith to enjoy it. All you need is your eyes. And you will find that the performance and the acting and the drama that they bring out in this particular movie is worthy of any Hollywood movie that you could think of. And it's local. And these are citizens. These are people you can see on a daily basis. The people you can actually relate to. It gives you an opportunity to be proud of the things that we actually do in this country.
That's indeed true.
Yes.
That's indeed true. Developing our own local talent in all ways, from the actors to the crew, everybody else.
And appreciating them for the work that they do.
True. Yes. Our guest is in the studio. Kuria Kimani is the Member of Parliament for Molo constituency and Chairman of the Finance and Planning Committee of the National Assembly. Good morning, sir.
Good morning, Latiff.
Good to have you again in the studio.
It's great to be back here. Great to see you, Ndu. Great to see you, CT.
Good to see you, sure.
Been a very busy last few weeks, last few months. The last time we were here, we were debating the finance bill. And it's now an act, although unfortunately we suffered a small setback that I am confident will soon be a thing of the past about the conservatory orders that have been granted by the court after an application by our good friend Senator Okoh Mutata.
Yeah,
you know, I was joking with him the other day, and I think I was telling him he should withdraw he should refund the salaries he is paid as a senator, because he's more of an activist in the courtroom than he is a senator and a lawmaker of this Republic of Kenya. I think he is more fitted to work within the judiciary and not as a senator.
And how did you respond to that joke?
He laughed it off. Because he knows what I meant. Because members of parliament have a very privileged position of sitting where you and Ndu and City cannot, where we make laws of the republic. And so I think it's very important that every legislator use that platform to make the laws and to make their contribution, and not abscond your duty and run to the courts or run to the streets to picket. And you're a member of parliament, and when the decision was being made, when the votes were being taken, you were either conveniently out of the country or conveniently out of the chambers, or not even bother to understand the process that was happening. So it's a really sad.
Or you were a senator and you didn't have an opportunity to debate or vote on the said bill.
Yes, but again, if you are a senator worth your salt, you should know that in the history of Parliament, a finance bill has never been debated at the Senate. Because for a bill to be debated or to go to the Senate, it has to have clauses that affect county governments. And for this Finance Act, there was absolutely nothing that would have made it be debated at the Senate. And there is precedence, because since the promulgation of the new constitution, and since we started having the finance bill, it has never had to go to the Senate.
Even when the county government is an employer.
Who collects revenues.
If you look at it,
some of the measures there compel it a county government as an employer?
Article 119 of the Constitution gives powers to the National Assembly to legislate on all matters taxes. And if you use that logic, then the Income Tax Act, that deducts payee, then the county governments pay payee.
Yeah.
The county governments deduct VAT. So do all the laws relating to VAT and income tax go to the Senate? Because county governments are agents of collecting payee and income tax?
But
the answer is absolutely not.
And consider for a moment, Mheshimiwa, if your honorable colleague had not raised this issue, this very worthwhile discussion we're having here would not take place, because every time there's something that goes against the normal grain, what we then have is a robust conversation on it, and we get to be informed, like the very things you're saying here. See, you are quoting statutes, you are explaining to us where this whole conversation is anchored. In the absence of that difference, you would not be explaining it.
I don't think so, City, because if you remember the last, long before this bill became really this publicized, I remember I was in this show and we started breaking what the finance bill is, what it needs to do. I think there has been a robust conversation, and I think we have not had a piece of legislation that has been debated nationally as widely as the finance
Is that not a good thing?
I'm not complaining, it's a good thing. We are much more informed. It is just that what is sad is people that have the facts keep misrepresenting them deliberately. And for example, when His Excellency the President ascended the finance bill into law, he signed two other bills. He signed the Division of Revenue Bill, it's now Division of Revenue Act, and he signed the Appropriations Bill, which is now the Appropriations Act. Interestingly, we are conveniently not talking about those two other pieces of law, that the three of them are like conjoined twins. The Division of Revenue Act is the one that defines or puts says what the sharing formula is, the revenue sharing formula is between the national government and the county government. The Appropriations Act is now the act that puts money into programs, whether it is road, whether it is health, whether it is education, whether it's agriculture. It is actually the one that says there is a line here called roads that specifies it's road A, B, C, D. There is these water programs A, B, C, D. And all of them have a bearing to the Finance Act. Because the money that you're going to share between national government and county government in the Division of Revenue Act, the amount of money we're going to spend in programs, whether it is roads, health, that has both been approved by both by the Appropriations Act is a bill of the National Assembly. So it has been processed in the National Assembly. The Division of Revenue Bill now Act is a joint bill that has been passed by both the National Assembly and the Senate. So interestingly, there is no contestation about we are spending this money.
Actually,
but where it is coming from is
actually that is not the issue. That's where the issue is, Mheshimiwa, because remember, yes, it went through, but what it required was a majority. It doesn't mean that everybody assented to it. There are people who probably had a difference of opinion. And that difference of opinion is what we are now seeing playing out in the public gallery.
Interestingly, CT, is that the hypocrisy of we participated in this budget. It's like at home. You agree that we are going to live in an apartment where we are going to pay 30,000 shillings. And we are going to take our kids to school X, that we are going to pay X amount of money. And these are going to be the meals, to draw up a budget at home of 100,000 shillings. And you both agree. Okay? Then we say, fine, where are we going to get this 100,000 shillings? Then we say, now you have to give in 2 more hours at work. Because we need additional revenue for us to support this family budget.
Yep.
We agree you as a kids, you're not going to you when you come up from school, you have to help at the shop because now we need this additional revenue. And then we all agree because remember we are financing 100,000 shillings budget every month.
Yep.
But once we agree all that, do you say no? I don't think I want to put in 2 more hours at work. And yet you participated in agreeing that we move to this apartment that we're paying X, and taking the kids to this school that we're paying X school fees.
I hear what you're saying, but if we look at what really is the situation in Kenya, the people that are being asked to put in a little bit of extra were not at this table to have this conversation, and they didn't say, yes, we will give you 2 of our hours after school to contribute to this conversation. And I think that's where it all came from. That you didn't consult the people that you're asking for 2 extra hours. You kind of put their 2 extra hours down on the budget. And then when that is going through is when you come and tell them, oh, by the way, folks, you're giving 2 hours of your time afterwards. I think that's where the problem was. Otherwise known as the grander term of public participation.
I want to look at it a little differently. And let's first of all handle the legislatures that were part of the process. There are 2 ways. So you're part of the process that approves budget X that has these roads in your constituency, that has these houses are being built in your constituency, that has all these programs that you sit in a departmental committee that you approved.
Yeah.
Okay? Then once you approve these expenditures, and I'm talking about first of all leaders, the leadership, then you say fine. This is how then this is going to be financed. But then once now they get to the financing part, that's where now you say let us go to the streets. You know, how absurd can that get? You know, I wouldn't understand on the issue of now the public. Okay, because you're saying for sure that we are going to have the employees and the employers contribute 1.5% and 1.5%. There are all these measures that are put in. So I would really understand if it is the one making the contribution that was not, even if there was public participation, was not necessarily voting, was not necessarily at the decision-making table. I would understand that. But now, explain to me how you who was part of the entire process, budget-making process.
And I could
pull reports, you know, because the budget-making process, if I finish this point, Latiff, the budget-making process is done by departmental committees of the National Assembly.
Yes.
So the Departmental Committee of Agriculture approved the budget on agriculture. The Committee on Health, the committee on the budget committee actually, which is the largest committee, compromising and all these committees comprise members from both Kenya Kwanza and from the opposition.
Absolutely.
I can tell you for a fact they all signed the adoption report of the budget of those particular committees.
Don't be fooled.
There was no objection in any of the committee reports.
There was no any objection,
in terms of expenditures.
Yes, including the finance, and again, including the finance committee.
Let's come to the finance committee. How many members are in your committee?
15.
In total. How many of those 15 members are in the Azimio coalition or the minority?
7.
So 7 of your members are minority members.
Yes.
How many voted no to
None.
the measures?
None.
How many voted yes?
Unanimous. It was all the 15 members. So equally the 7 members from Azimio actually voted yes to the finance report.
So all the members of the Azimio coalition in your finance committee voted yes to the finance committee's report.
Yes.
Which is what ended up with just minor amendments becoming the Finance Act.
Yes. So the finance, so we got the finance bill. Okay. We went through public participation.
Yeah.
We listened to thousands of stakeholders. We came up with amendments. We amended, I think it is, if I remember correctly, we amended 87 clauses in the bill. The amended finance bill, which was ascended to by the president, was approved by both sides of the political divide at the Finance and National Planning Committee.
And it was not just unanimous. Everybody.
They signed the adoption report. They got sitting allowances for.
You all signed.
They all signed for.
Who
the
are the
report.
members of the minority in your committee?
It's
public.
That is public.
You want me to look
I do not want.
I can get the names, or you can give me the names.
Latiff, let us not go to. Let us not go to the names.
The chairman is Kuria Kimani. Who is the vice chairman?
The membership, if you just check on our website, you'll find the membership. Like, I wouldn't go to the I don't want the discussion.
No.
I do not want to go to
It's
that
not about
conversation.
character. It's about
but I want us to see this view and this perspective. Let's even talk about the Finance and National Planning Committee, which I assure you was approved unanimously. Let's talk about
the budget.
The approvals. We talk about the budget. Let's talk about the approvals of the clauses at the floor of the House. Okay. Because what our Azimio brothers and sisters are telling us, that we must suspend, the Finance Act in totality. The voting that was done on the clauses, what are the clauses that they asked for division? Asking for division is they opposed, and then they felt that they didn't have the numbers, and then they stood at the first division. What now we had now to vote yes or no individually. Were only 3 clauses out of 87 different clauses.
So out of the 87 clauses, the contentious ones were 3.
Well, 3. They asked for division on deletion of, I think it's clause 29, that is taking VAT on fuel from 8% to 16%. They asked for division on the clause that was reducing the housing levy from 3% to 1.5% employer and 1.5% employee. They asked for division for the amendment of the Income Tax Act that was introducing 2 new tax bands for because before the Finance Act of 2022, those earning more than 500,000 shillings were the only ones who were paying 30%. There was no any other band. So the committee amended that and introduced 2 more bands between 500,000 shillings and 800,000 shillings at 32.5%, and anyone earning more than 800,000 shillings, they pay 35%.
Yeah.
So those are the only clauses that members from Azimio actually wrote to the Speaker, bringing amendments.
Yeah.
And asking for a division. Only those 3.
Okay.
Out of 87 clauses, what are these other 87 clauses about? One, for the very first time, we took maize flour, wheat flour, cassava flour from the from tax exempt status to zero rating status. So it means that now maize flour, cassava flour, and wheat flour is zero rated, which means you're removing taxes on maize flour and wheat flour. How is that bad? We have reduced excess duty on internet. On internet expenses, on telephone expenses, from I think it's 15% to 10%. I'll confirm the percentage, but at least it is a reduction. We are reducing rental income tax from 10% to 7.5%. We have introduced zero rating of local manufacturing of fertilizer, which means that the fertilizer that we're now availing to farmers and next season is going to be much cheaper because we have reduced taxes on manufacturing of fertilizer. We have introduced what's called insurance relief for post-medical insurance contribution. We have realized that when people when people retire, and throughout your working life, you had this medical cover that usually a contribution of either employee or employer, or just a contribution of employer. Once you go on retirement, most people, and so at retirement, you are at advanced age, that's when you're more prone to diseases. So they're not able to afford medical insurance. So we have introduced a tax and insurance relief for post-retirement medical insurance. Okay. How is that wrong? Let me go on.
Let me pause you.
On UHC, on UHC.
Let me pause you there, because we'll not go into the other 83. Yeah, those 3. Do you agree that even in the public, even when you're engaging the public, those 3 were the most contentious issues? From the feedback that you got from the public. Those three issues. The housing fund, which now is a housing tax.
VAT on fuel.
VAT on fuel. And the third one is?
Income tax.
Yeah, the income tax.
Okay, fine. Of course, the
From the feedback that you got in your public participation.
The income tax, of course, nobody ordinarily wants to pay more. I, for example, my pay slip for June is worse than my disposable income for the month of July, is much less than my disposable income or my take home in the month of June. That is a fact. Am I happy about it? The answer is no. I'm not ordinarily happy that I am getting to pay more taxes. McHugh, even removal of the capping for housing, because remember, the bill had a cap of up maximum of 2,000 shillings. Now, with the removal of the cap, I'm going to pay more because I would have paid up to 2,000. Now I think my housing levy deduction for this month will be around 15,000 shillings. But let's look at it. It's not just about how that affects me as Kuriak, as an individual. It's about, was it fair?
My question is
that, yes, I'm getting.
Do you
that.
agree or don't you agree that those three,
I'm getting
even with the public participation, emerged as the thorny issues?
I agree.
It's not the merits or demerits of it. It's just whether
the
these
three
are
most
thorny issues or not.
The three most debated, the three most contentious, the three most discussed clauses in the whole. In fact, I was saying we reduce the housing, the finance bill to a housing bill.
Yeah.
Because everyone was talking about housing. Even those that I was in a political, I was at an event at the Catholic Church in Busia the other Sunday, and everyone was talking about housing levy, and I'm like, out of the population in that church, the people that are actually contributing to the housing levy were the only ones who were opposing the members of parliament, because this rural constituency, this rural local church, none of them is a salaried employee.
Okay.
So it's actually true. And that is why you'll find this is the most debated, because the people that have the platform like this to discuss it are the ones who are paying more.
Okay.
And of course, they don't want to pay more. Ordinarily, they wouldn't want to pay more. And you find that because even now the people speaking about it in the village, you have farmers in the village telling me about, like someone telling me, I was in a village in Kenya telling me, this your finance bill has too many taxes, iyo mambo ya manyumba. Then I'm asking them, okay, which one of you is going to pay? And then there was nobody. Then like, kwani sisi wote tunakatwa mambo ya manyumba na tuko na manyumba huku ushago? I'm like, no, it is not you who are going to pay. It is those that are salary. And that is why, unfortunately, Ndu and Latiff and City and myself, seated here, all of us are going to get a cut in our July salary. And unfortunately, we are the only ones who have this platform of debating it. That's why when I tell you about fertilizer, when I tell you what you've done about local manufacturing of medicine, when I tell you about those internet rates, those the excess duty on transfer of mobile money, when you talk about, imagine that we have, for some reason, we have always had, I think it's a 35% excise duty on electric motorcycles. And ordinarily, excise duty in the strict definition of excise duty is supposed to be a sin tax.
It's a sin tax.
So, what was sinful in buying an electric motorcycle? This act removes excise duty on electronic motorcycles. But of course, because the sector that will be affected by the removal of this tax will not be able to come and have a robust conversation in English and quoting statutes, then nobody's talking about it.
But they did. Let's take a break though. 26 minutes to 9. Kuria Kimani, MP for Molo constituency and chairman of the Finance and Planning Committee of the National Assembly, is our guest this morning. We will move the conversation after the break into, so Yes, the Azimio legislators have rallied together and they've called for maandamano because of this. We also still have a conversation around the Finance Act and whether it should be implemented and what this government is doing. So we want to hear what your meeting with the president on Saturday discussed.
Okay.
What the strategy is. Okay, and as we do this, Mheshimiwa, Molo has, trees and all, where we're starting to cut trees, but that's not the issue. Molo has trees and therefore has rivers and has water. Okay, now there are children in some parts of the country who don't have access to free drinking water, and Colgate is asking you and I to help just by going into Naivas and buying Colgate. And when you buy Colgate, part of the money goes into sinking one of 30 water wells that will benefit at least 150,000 lives. All you need to do is buy Colgate.
I am sure, Latiff, I have never used a different.
That's all you know, right?
That's all I know. It's Colgate all the way.
Very good. So this time, go to Naivas, buy Colgate, and we'll be sorted.
Thank you.
Sawa. Also, today and yesterday and tomorrow and the day after, into 20th, you can walk into KICC because the Employment and Labour Relations Court is having its annual symposium where they're engaging on what they've done in the last 10 years since they were established into a superior court and what they've done in terms of just sorting out the labour disputes that we have in the country. Some of them, of course, I'm sure some of your constituents are big on this. And so they're having their annual symposium and they're saying, please come, let's engage and also see and understand how we work. That's the Employment and Labour Relations Court Symposium, which will also be live on KTN News later this morning.
This is the Situation Room, the only way to start your day.
Take the money. Who's gonna know? Cain won't rest until he finds you. You could run and go far away. Think about your role in the church. No one will know. It'll be your own secret. I am warning you.
4 church members pray for their crimes when they're drawn into a life of sin and violence in the new Showmax original series, Faithless. Now on Showmax. Sign up to watch at showmax.com.
Good morning, and I love your show.
Thank you.
Having come from a Kikuyu radio background, I migrated to Spice because of the content.
I was born in a slum, but somehow I got a break in life. So sometimes when you see the sweating coming out because of the passion and whatever it is, behind the noise, there are people. And we share the same umbilical cord.
It shouldn't be like that. I am so disappointed. We used to tell Honorable Raila Amolo Odinga that he's doing politics of conmanship. And even President Uhuru Kenyatta, serikali hii ndio iko na conmanship ya hali ya juu. You cannot promise people that you reduce tax, then you double.
In politics, there is the issue of trust. For you to turn around and then stab the same people who gave you that trust, there is no other level of dishonesty. And hii mambo utaona dunia tu.
The Situation Room, Kenya's biggest conversation.
Cloudy conditions in Nairobi this morning, highs of 22 and lows of 11. We'll see lows of 13 and highs of 26 in Nakuru. It's sunny at 13 in Nyeri, highs of 22, and we'll see highs of 25 in a sunny Eldoret at 15. Mostly sunny at 24 in Mombasa, highs of 29 and lows of 22, and we'll see lows of 24 in a sunny Malindi at 25. It's sunny at 22 in Kisumu, highs of 31, and it'll go to highs of 29 in a sunny Kakamega at 21. The sun is up at 24 in Kampala, highs of 28, and 29 will be the high in a partly sunny Dar es Salaam at 25. 11 degrees and sunny in Johannesburg, highs of 20 and lows of 6. It's clear at 24 in Lagos with highs of 30. Mostly cloudy at 21 in Kinshasa, highs of 33, back down to lows of 21.
Spice up your life.
Okay, still continuing, but something's going on Langata Road this morning. Traffic is slowed all the way from the temporarily closed Uhuru Gardens, and that's getting out towards the Nyeri Stadium roundabout. Very heavy. Some of it will go towards Rilo Dingaway, folks wanting to escape that. Then Uhuru Highway takes it on as you're trying to get into the city. Still heavy in some parts on Jogger Road, as well as Landis Road is jam-packed. Speaking of jam-packed, there's the Thika Superhighway in all its glory coming into the CBD, reducing significantly on Kiambu Road, but then we still see some movement there, at least for some time. North Airport Road coming in from Cabanas is still a beehive of activity, taking you through towards Outer Ring, and then out towards the Eastern Bypass looks more or less better and manageable. Let's take a look back in about half hour. Let's talk on Spice FM, KE on Twitter.
Mature, intelligent talk every morning. Spice up yourself. Mornings done right. 94.4 Spice FM.
News as we continue our conversation with the Honourable Member of Parliament for Molo, Kuria Kimani. Kuria, about housing. There is the platform called Bomayangu, right? Mm-hmm. And Bomayangu is now the government affordable housing platform, which allows people then to be able to select a house and to own a house. And all they say is to register for Bomayangu is dial *832#, and then you walk through the process. City did that yesterday, went through the process, and is already started to say the next thing that City is supposed to do is identify from the projects that are listed, where would you like to own your home? Then after that, when you get to 12.5% of the property of a house, then you qualify to start earning. It's a fully automated platform. That means that for 4 of us, we are on Bomayangu, we've selected in the same project, algorithm will select the person who gets the house, if it's only 1 house available. Okay, if it's 4 houses available, then algorithm of course gives us 4 the houses.
Amazing. I can see now I have more supporters of the Finance Act now that we are all users of Bomayangu. And Latiff, just to give perspective,
yes,
what this has done. I was speaking with a friend yesterday. She was able to get a mortgage for an apartment in Kileleshwa along Othaya Road. And a 2-bedroom is now going, I think, for 5.76 million shillings. And I remember when I got my mortgage for last Parliament, and I actually thought of getting an apartment along that place. They were going for 13, 14, 15 million shillings. So the ripple effect of the provision of the affordable housing units by government has actually reduced the cost of apartments by the private sector players, because like the Parklands project or the Ngara, the Park Road project, you know, that are apartments on Bomayangu going for 2.5 million, 3.5 million shillings. So what has done is that it has significantly reduced the cost of other private house providers that are located in the same area.
How has it done in that exactly?
If someone is selling a house there at 2.5 million, and you build apartments to sell 2 blocks away, and you sell them at 10 million shillings, nobody's going to buy. Because even when that is a market price, they are going to say there, but that is. But
Mheshimiwa Kimani, you know very well that for that to happen that drastically, from 13 million shillings to 5 million shillings along Kileleshwa, you need to have very many other affordable housing units that are competing with that market. Now, to say that it is because of affordable housing that the prices along Othaya Road have dropped, I think that is stretching it a bit. It could be other reasons.
One of them,
maybe the size of the house, whatever other reasons. But it's because there is a house in Park Road.
You know what is happening. For a very long time, most Kenyans gave up a dream of owning a house in the city. That is a fact, because the prices were crazy. and the only ones.
The prices are still crazy.
Yeah, but actually, the prices have gone down. If you even check all the surveys that
But
have
why
been done
that?
by even Knight and Frank,
Knight and
Frank is actually shows us the. I think that's my theory. That one of the reasons is I have. Let me give you an example. One of my staff, called Masharia, he works for my Elbagon office. Was telling me how he want to relocate to Nairobi with his wife, and he wanted to buy an apartment, and he went to that Bomayango and then said, now I saw something, I think for 2 million, and I think I can gradually pay and get that house for 2 million shillings. Then when he was searching for it, he saw others, not necessarily in Bomayango, that actually cost that much. Ordinarily, this young man would have never thought that he could afford a house in Nairobi, and that is a fact. When I started my employment, when I got married, and later got married a few years later, and thought of getting a roof over the head for my family, I remember the cheapest apartment we could get in the market, until now we decided to buy land and build, was at the river for 7 million. And that was a 2-bedroom apartment. And that is a fact. And this is 2014. Now, tell me how then we have the same. If you could only buy an apartment at the river at 7 million shillings, and now you can buy a 3-bedroom apartment at the same 7 million shillings at Lavington or Kileleshwa. It means it's a conversation we've had about. Yes, one of them. That's my theory.
We could say that, in your opinion, one of the reasons.
Yes, in my opinion, yes.
The affordable housing.
In my opinion.
Now, Mheshimiwa,
in my
on
considered
Saturday,
opinion.
On Saturday, you Kenya Kwanza legislators had a meeting at State House with your party leader, and you were discussing many things. Among the things that we hear you discussed was this week's demonstrations. What's the strategy?
First of all, that is not only the conversation that we had. We also talked about, like we always do, at the beginning of every session of Parliament, we have a parliamentary group meeting to discuss the legislative agenda, the government legislative agenda for the following session. And we have consistently done this. And now, before the budget, before the estimates and the finance act, before now the last session, we were called for a PG. The president and members of the executive explained, this is what we need your help on. Before then, during the appointment of cabinet secretaries and appointment of principal secretaries, we had a conversation that go do vetting. I'm hoping that that you can pass them, but in the event that someone doesn't meet the threshold, feel free to exercise your professional discretion on failing them. And so the Saturday's parliamentary group meeting for Kenya Kwanza is not any different from what you've always held before the start of any session. And we had the agenda of the legislative proposals. Now we had a better explanation of the value chains in the budget. Talking about the aggregation centers, the focus on agriculture, the focus on UHC. The focus on the difference in the approach on universal healthcare, because we have the reason why UHC did not succeed the 2 times it had been launched before by the last regime was one, because we were more curative than we were preventive, and this has really overstretched especially our health facilities.
So the focus now is different.
The focus now is different. We're talking about preventive.
Time, if you'll allow me.
Let me just finish that point, then I get to what you really want to hear.
Let's come into Mandamano.
Yes. So we are now focusing on having community health workers, 100,000 community health workers. So we have our households, especially in the rural villages, being divided into small units and being assigned a health worker. So going to come and measure your blood pressure and all that. So that we reduce the numbers that need to go physically to a health facility. But of course, to what is really is a greater interest is what was our conversation about Mano. We agree that we had a very long conversation, and I think we agree, yes, the right to picketing and demonstration is a right provided for in the Constitution. But on the same note, the protection of life and property is also a right provided for in the Constitution. So in as much as you have the right to picket and to demonstrate, I also have a right to come to work. I have a right to my property. So your exercise of your right to picket, demonstrate, should not take away my right to own property, my right to go to work, my right to go to school, my right to go on with my normal business.
That's all agreed. That's all in the law.
And so how do we, again, now make sure that we do not have some people exercising that right at the expense of the others? Because we want to make sure that many people can't afford 3 days off in a week, because most of our people rely on informal employment. So they leave in the morning, with just bus fare to work. And some actually walk to work because they don't really have that bus fare.
So what did you agree? Tomorrow is Wednesday.
Come picket, but do not disturb and take away the right of anyone else who has a right to go to work.
Okay.
It's clear that the sides are polarized. It's obvious that we also have folks who are talking in terms of politics very clearly. Is there an understanding from, it's your side because it's your side, is there an understanding from your side as to why the demonstrations are taking place?
Now, is there an understanding to why they're taking place? No.
You don't understand what the demonstrations are about?
Let me ask you, so how does destroying expressway affect the price of maize flour?
Okay.
But that's a different conversation altogether, really.
The question for me, and I'll tell you why I'm asking this question in a minute, but is there an understanding from your side why the demonstrations are taking place?
There is an understanding that there is a high cost of living.
Okay.
There is understanding that there is a high rate of unemployment.
Yes.
That is a fact.
Yes.
What we disagree with is how do we handle it.
Okay.
That is our point of departure. We agree that there are very many Kenyans who are not able to put
food on the table.
That is indeed a fact.
Yes.
There's no, and nobody has, and His Excellency the President, none of our leaders, including myself, is denying that, because I am very close with my constituents, and I get calls, all the time. In fact, there's someone calling me now, and most importantly, they could be telling me, I'm not able to meet my rent. Or yesterday, one of the students I sponsor at Maseno University, went back to his hostel and everything had been stolen. He has not. He literally had on the clothes he had yesterday. So life is, and perhaps the reason why somebody went and stole is because, of course, it's criminal, but it's also because maybe he didn't have much. So the truth is, we have got many Kenyans that are not able to put food on the table. That's a fact. However, is a solution to that destroying the highways? Is a solution to that making sure that anyone else who would have gone to work and got something to eat in the evening doesn't get to work?
I'm going to prefer something that could look like an opinion, but I'm almost sure that very many people who hear me will understand and agree with what I'm saying. The people who are feeling the thing that you've just described and the people who would come out to demonstrate are not the ones who destroyed the expressway, are not.
So who are the ones who destroyed the expressway?
The people who go home every day, who are frustrated to the point whereby they are not sure where next meal will come from, are not the ones who are ripping apart the expressway. And I think that if you sought, you would know that what I'm saying is true. And that Kenyans who are caught in the balance of this politics that we're seeing from two sides, and that the Kenyans who need everybody to have an honest conversation about what is actually going on, and not these barbs that we've been seeing being thrown over the last few days. And so my question is, when will the honest conversation be had about truly what can be done, instead of the smoke screens that we are seeing coming from both sides? Not just you because you're in the room, but from both sides, for whom Kenyans, you in the beginning of this conversation, you talked about representation for people. The Kenyans who are hoping that representation is actually carried out are looking up to both sides to say, can we have a conversation instead of this, the nonsense of politics that we've been seeing flying around. They are not the ones who are removing the railway or the expressway or whatever we want to call it. They are the ones who are looking up to both sides to say, let us be honest in our action. So when is that going to happen?
Thank you. And that is powerful. That is really, really powerful. And I can't agree with you more. And I'll start with those that are going to destroy what you've built. That is what we agreed must be dealt with. That if you think that you, like that guy climbing up on, taking off the camera, removing the toilet from those offices, burning a road, stoning a bus, burning a bus, those will be dealt with. Coming to the open conversation
of dealing with them instead of preventing this entire.
We have told them stop destroying.
No,
we have told them
preventing.
And I will repeat it.
So what do we want us to do? To let them rip our highways?
At the expense of repetition. The people who destroyed this 4 kilometers of expressway are not the people who are suffering today.
Agreed.
Let us get off of that.
That's
point,
fine. That's
please.
fine. That's why I was
and
going
I've
to
asked that question. I would like to know when an open conversation will be had.
Yes, I was going to part 2 of how we are going to take care of those people that do not have a meal on their table. And before we get there, have an open national conversation. We said, where are these policy decisions made? And we agreed as a country that the policy decisions that are going to change our country and put food on those people's table is not done at newsrooms, is not done at conferences. It is done at the houses or the place where decisions are made, where a piece of law, like that act, for example, becomes law the following day when it's signed by the president. And that is why there was an agreement to have a bipartisan approach where we're saying, get leaders from this side, get leaders from this side. Because the worry of Azimio was, even if we propose these changes, the Kenya Kwanza team, because they have the numbers, may not pass them. A legitimate concern. But because we wanted, as a president would say, a good idea to give birth to a better idea, and a better idea to give birth to the best idea. Bring your leaders here. Let us bring ours here. Go and have a draft of what you want us to do. The first thing Azimio did was say, fine, we don't trust these people. Why? There is one Honorable Kainan who is one of our own, because Jubilee is an Azimio, who is one of the people that you fronted on your side to be part of this conversation. That's fine. I thought it would be to advantage because you have one of our own. But if Honorable Kainan is a problem, fine. We are going to withdraw him and replace him. So even after doing that, even after our administration giving Azimio a chance to have a national conversation that would lead to policy decisions that would address in a bipartisan way all the concerns that you are raising, you very elaborately raised. They said no, they want to go back to the streets.
So much
and
more.
you and I know
those talks have collapsed. All right. From where you sit as a national leader, what's the best way forward? How do we address the issues that are being raised?
The people from Azimio should stop being selfish, should stop politicking, because they're going to have a chance to do all the politics they can in a few years. And 5 years end very fast. I served in the 12th Parliament, and no sooner was I elected in 2017 than the next election really are coming. So these 5 years will end very quickly, and they will have a chance to political decay. For now, let us have a national conversation where decisions are made, because no matter how many days you stop hardworking Kenyans from going to work, no matter how many sufurias you put on your head, for a fact, that cannot bring down the cost of living.
So call of maandamano.
Call of maandamano.
And
whatever way you propose, let us have a conversation within the principles of the Constitution, because we have also laws of this land. Because what these people want...
Maandamano also within the principles of Constitution.
Yeah, but what as Ndo rightfully put, and all of you rightfully put, when you open that option of maandamano, what we are having is a ripple effect of now all these other criminals coming out of the road to destroy property.
Taking over.
And taking over.
Always a pleasure having you.
It's always a robust conversation. I really like coming here.
You've done a lot of filibustering today, but okay. Next time. It's 9 a.m. Time for the news.
Good morning, this is Newswire. I'm Dennis Aseto. Kenya has been granted 141.4 billion shillings by the International Monetary Fund Executive Board in new funding that could ease pressure on government's finances. The IMF said the board completed the fifth review under Kenya's extended fund facility and extended credit facility, allowing for an immediate disbursement of about $415 million, that is 58.57 billion shillings, and extended those arrangements to 48 months from 38 months to give Kenya more time to implement reforms. It also approved a new 20-month arrangement under the IMF's Resilience and Sustainability worth about $551.4 million, that is 77.96 billion shillings, that will support Kenya's climate resilience efforts. The IMF said Kenya had made good progress in implementing economic reforms despite facing the worst drought in decades, as well as a challenging external environment. Over 200 parents involved in the scholarship row in Uasin Gishu County will record their statement with the Eldoret DCI today. The parents whose children were to benefit from scholarships in Canada and Finland are now demanding a refund from Uasin Gishu County government as they are no longer interested in the arrangement. Addressing press in Eldoret town, the agitated parents said they are suffering a lot since they paid fees for their children abroad, yet they are still at home with them. They blamed Governor Jonathan B. and Senator Jackson Mandago for what they termed as political games on serious issues that have greatly affected them. Nairobi Governor Johnson Sakaja and Education Cabinet Secretary Ezekiel Machogu signed a 1.7 billion shillings deal towards the rollout of a feeding program for all public primary schools in Kenya's capital. The intergovernmental partnership agreement between the county government and the national government was signed and will see funds for the program drawn from both the Consolidated Fund and the County Revenue Fund on a 50-50 basis. But the idea by the IPA, the national government will, through the Education Ministry, handle capacity building for Nairobi County on management, administration and implementation of the program. And Kenya and Indonesia have agreed on a letter of intent for cooperation in livestock and animal health within the government-to-government framework. They have also encouraged the completion of a bilateral defense cooperation document and to start preferential trade agreement negotiations to promote trade relations between the two countries. This following a meeting between the Indonesian Coordinating Minister for Maritime Affairs and Investment Luhut Binsar Panjaitan and the Kenyan President, that is President William Ruto, at State House Nairobi. During the visit, Coordinating Minister Luhut led a delegation of high-ranking officials from ministries and institutions and state-owned and private companies. The visit, which serves as preparation for President Joko Widodo's visit to Kenya in August, agreed on several matters within the government-to-government and business-to-business frameworks. Firefighting services in Kilifi County have been boosted by the launch of a modern fire station at a cost of 125 million shillings in partnership with World Bank. In the project that sits on a 1-acre piece of land in Kilifi town, the World Bank invested a grant of 96 million shillings while the county government pumped 29 million shillings in the project. The county has also procured 4 fire engines that will be distributed to Watamu and Mutwapa municipalities. The African Union Commission and United Nations Development Programme launched the Africa Facility to support inclusive transitions on the sidelines of the 5th Africa Union Media Coordinating Meeting in Nairobi. AFCET aims at providing support to countries undergoing complex political transitions and countries at risk. In May 2023, African Union heads of state and government reiterated a zero-tolerance stance against unconstitutional changes of government and called for collective action in developing a robust mechanism for deepening democracy and collective security on the continent. In response to this call, the African Union Commission and the United Nations Development Programme have joined efforts to launch the AFCET, an innovative initiative aimed at providing comprehensive pragmatic support to African countries undergoing complex political transitions. And a project that seeks to provide women entrepreneurs with business incubation services, mentorship, training, access to markets and financial support has been launched in the country. The Business Incubators for African Women Entrepreneurs is a project by the COMESA Federation of Women in Business Secretariat with the financial support of AUDA, NEPAD and the Spanish Fund. This is Newswire. I'm Dennis Aseto. Good morning.
.4 Spice FM.
Okay, so
Nairobi.
Highway still giving it off this morning. Getting out towards Pangani at the underpass, we'll still see some movement there. Gong Road has behaved really well today. We're not seeing too much of that. Unfortunately, Langata Road is spilling off some traffic towards Ngong Road via Raila Odinga Way, and so that's where you see most of that movement. Uhuru Highway is still pretty busy, and just past that Nyayo Stadium junction is where you'll see some action going towards Upper Hill and then trying to get into the city quicker. All right, so in the CBDs where most of it is happening, the Thika Superhighway still continues with a little bit here and there. Let's see how it wraps up towards the end of traffic hour, and then let's talk on Spice FM KE on Twitter.
This is The Situation Room, the home of hard-hitting political commentary and penetrating insights about the state of the nation. This is a talk radio experience like no other. The Situation Room, a place for hard truths, debates, and elevated conversations. The Situation Room, witty, political, engaging, deep, controversial. In the room, we have C.T. Muga, researcher, academic, seasoned political observer, a fountain of wisdom in these politically uncertain times. Ndu Okoh, Nigerian by birth, Kenyan by choice, communications expert, Pan-Africanist, a truth seeker and believer in people power, and Eric Latiff, agent provocateur, the man in the chair, seasoned journalist, news hound, a man who believes in punching up, not down. This is The Situation Room, the only way to start your day.
To the final hour of The Situation Room this morning, the 18th day of July 2023. Also a big day for the mining industry, Ndu.
Yes, it is. So from the 17th, which was yesterday, up until the 19th, the Kenya Mining Fraternity, together with stakeholders, have been holding a conference and looking at Kenya as a mining destination. It doesn't really matter what it is that you're looking at mining, but saying, look, international organizations, local, regional, interested parties, come and see Kenya as a mining destination. So those interested stakeholders have been have been involved in this conference for the next couple of days, and it continues today. And they're saying, come on down and see the opportunities that lie right here in the country and different things that you can do if you're in the business or if you're in the industry. Come and see the conversations and opportunities that are being discussed until the end of tomorrow.
Indeed, indeed. Plus, also, please remember to register for Boma Yangu, and this is the government's platform for affordable housing. All you need to do is go to the website www.bomayangu.go.ke, or you can register by just dialing *832#. That's *832#. They will walk you through the steps of registration, which is just give us your surname and give us your ID number, and then they'll recognize you. Hello, Charles Muga. Welcome. Please deposit 200 to begin your savings journey.
Yes.
And once CT Muga did that, he began his savings journey. The next question was, please select a house. Which area would you like a house? And they give you the projects that are currently ongoing. Now you find out all the various projects that are ongoing. You know, in Nairobi, there is Ziwani, there is South Sea, there is Langata, there is Park Road, there is where else for affordable housing?
There's Homa Bay.
There's outside Nairobi, there's Homa Bay County.
Well, Nairobi has the bulk of it, but the whole idea is that all the counties in this country,
all constituencies actually,
should actually have affordable housing.
An affordable housing project.
Yes.
Yeah. So you basically get onto that and then you see what the projects that are currently ongoing. You say, I would like a house, for example, in Homa Bay. I would like a house in Embu, where the affordable housing project is going on. When they are completed, they tell you, right, this is the journey of the houses, this is the progress, and keep saving, and this is how much they'll be going out up for. And then when you reach 12.5% of the value of the house in terms of your savings, then you are eligible. So the algorithm will basically just pick you from those that have said would like a house in Embu, for example. Algorithm picks. We have 10 houses, we have 20 applicants. It picks the 10 randomly. Okay? And then you wait for the next batch of houses again in Embu, and you go on like that. And you can only get one house per person. So that now we are making sure that Mikora do not get into the system and take up all the 10 houses. We have a guest who's joined us in the studio. Dr. Jim McPhee is world-renowned economist.
I wouldn't say that, Eric.
Well, we would say it. Well, everybody in the country who has interacted with matters of finance in one way or the other have interacted with Dr. Jim McPhee. He's currently a lecturer at Strathmore University, but he's involved in very many ways. I first interacted with you in the mid-90s when you came to our school and you were encouraging us to pursue a career in finance. And I was like, yeah, thanks.
Eric, you clearly didn't listen to what you were told.
Yeah, thanks. Thanks. I like what you're saying. It sounds really good.
However,
I'll put it under advisement. I'll take it under advisement. But Dr. Jim McPhee is here this morning. Karibu sana.
Thank you, Eric.
This is Kenya's biggest conversation.
Okay.
And that is the hot seat of the Situation Room.
Wow, I already feel the heat coming up from the seat.
But CT will welcome you nicely with the day's proverb. And this week's proverbs are coming from the country of
Guinea.
Guinea.
Yes. Not Guinea-Bissau, not Equatorial Guinea. Guinea. To have two eyes is a cause for pride, but to have one eye is better than to have none.
Mm-hmm. To have two eyes is a cause for pride.
Mm-hmm. But
to have one
eye is better than to have none.
Dr. McPhee, what's your interpretation of this?
Well, let me try to actually speak about economics, in relation to that particular saying, because I think a lot of people know nothing about economics, and one of the things that we're actually involved in at the moment, is I was thinking as I drove here this morning, let's suppose that I'm married to Ndu here, and, let's suppose both of us actually lose our jobs.
Okay.
So we're living in our house, and I say, well, Ndu, look, I'm going to go out and break up the car, and smash the windows, and because I feel really frustrated, and the way I'm going to get out of my frustration, is I'm going to use my one eye to go out and destroy the car. Now, are Ndu and me, are we better off as a result of that? The answer is no. We haven't solved the problem. So, and I was reading actually something yesterday about the whole thing of ESG reporting, environmental, social and governance reporting. And I think everyone in the world will agree that we do have climate change. We've got terribly hot summers, up in Europe and Korea, etc. We have this tremendous rain in Korea at the moment, causing these massive floods. So I wish they were coming here so that I could grow some more trees, actually. But during our last rainy season, I think it was 2018, I planted a lot of trees and they're doing really well. But anyway, you see, so many people are actually blind. So the first thing that we got to do is we got to try to get that one eye at least to open and see the reality around us. Because, we're talking about a reduction in the cost of living in Kenya. Now, is this possible? We've got to keep in mind that the price of oil, it's actually risen about $5 in the week. Now, that $5 is, when you translate it into Kenyan currency, today at 140 shillings to the dollar, that is in fact 700 shillings.
Yep.
So that's a barrel of oil goes up by that 700 shillings. Now, you've got to remember that election promises are election promises. And, can they be fulfilled? Very often the answer is no. And, when Mwai Kibaki was running for the presidency, which he became the president of Kenya, he said, look, one of the things that I will do for every year that I'm in power, the Kenya economy, the GDP, will increase by 10% per annum. In the year 2007, he almost got there. It was about 8%. But to actually have a rate of growth of the GDP, people say, we got a GDP of 7%. That's wrong. We have to have precision. What we're talking about 7% is that this year, compared to the equivalent period last year, is 7% higher.
Right.
So, we got to be absolutely clear in our expression, because, this precision, if I'm going to a doctor, I remember, I had a knee operation, 11 years ago now, almost 11 years ago. But they wrote on my right knee, the people in the hospital, they said, wrong leg. Why? To make sure that I actually had the left leg operated on rather than the right one. even an eminent, we know, there was a patient in Kenyatta Hospital, who actually was operated on when he shouldn't have been, because they made a mistake.
Yep.
So we all make mistakes. But I think the important thing, is we have to relate cause and effect. We all agree that there is climate change. Do we all, 100% of us, agree that this is due to human activity? No.
No, we don't.
The answer is no. Now, however, we are being brainwashed by the Western media, and a very large number of scientists as well. This is human activity. We have to get electric cars. In fact, I sent a young lady, a very clever young lady, yesterday, who's getting into this whole thing of ESG reporting. She works in Farmer's Choice. But anyway, there was an article which says these electric cars, they actually emit more CO2 in order to make them than the conventional cars. So it's only after about 200,000 kilometers that the electric car will actually have fewer emissions than the conventional. So, now, but anyway, now the point here, is let's go from the one eye, which many people unfortunately have only one eye in economics. Let's go to two eyes. This is where people, and to be a good economist is not a question of getting a first-class honours at the London School of Economics. To be a good economist is, very often let's say our entrepreneur in Kenya, I've got a past student, Brian Toom. Now, he sees the market. He knows now, look, these people need this thing here, and it's going to be a success. That's a person who really is an economist, because he knows now this is the way human beings behave. And, there's that posting which is going around Nairobi at the moment, where they raise the price of Senator beer from 20 shillings a glass to 40 shillings a glass. It closed 9,000 bars. It never raised the 6 billion shillings that Rotich thought he would raise as a result of that. People started going, I asked a lady at the University of Nairobi, look, if I increase the price of this product here, what's going to happen? Immediately, she said, I'll look for an alternative, which the young men and the young women did. They got into Chang'an, And then, of course, what happens is the farmers, they're producing sorghum. Suddenly, Kenya Brewery says, sorry, we can't buy your sorghum because no one's buying our beer. So, we got to understand, if, for example, we raise taxes in Kenya, and, for example, if you look at our manufacturing, okay, it has actually done quite well this year, but it could be so much better. We have to keep in mind that we are competing with Uganda. I know a person he's got a factory right across the road from here. He used to export 40% of his output to Uganda. What have people done? They've gone to Uganda, set up a similar factory, so he now exports 0 to Uganda. So we got to keep ahead of. Now we got to make it easy for the manufacturers to operate in Kenya. You know, I was talking to a foreign investor recently, not so recently, a couple of months ago, 3 months ago, and he said, "Look," I asked him, "Look, why don't you come and do this in Kenya?" He said, "Look, number one, you're actually an expensive place to operate in. That's the first thing. Secondly, the productivity of your people is low. So I just had to shut up, you know." So many companies used to operate. You know, Unilever was going to have a factory down in Mombasa. But you know, the governor comes along, NEMA comes along, KRA comes along, so-and-so comes along. That factory today is operating in Dubai, not in Kenya. So I'm training accountants, okay? They're important in business. Every business needs at least one accountant. Now, the position is there are no jobs now. And I know a senior politician who's come along to 3 companies that were going to be set up, give me 20% free. Those 3 companies never came into existence. And why am I concerned? Because they would have employed at least 3 and possibly more accountants. So that's where we now open the 2 eyes, okay? To see now, hey, look, my actions have a ripple effect on the whole economy. And, you know, if our economy was growing, if we were setting up, you know, new companies and new businesses, we're an attractive destination, okay? Ndu is here from Lagos. I loved Lagos, but, you know, kulala kule, you know, you're sleeping in 32 degrees of heat. Nairobi, you're sleeping in 12 degrees. You put the blanket around you to keep you warm.
Yeah.
So, you know,
there's a difference.
This is paradise.
There's something that you've said, Dr. McPhee, which is sort of like relating what we are dealing with as a country at present. You said election promises are seldom fulfilled.
Correct.
And they cannot be.
Almost.
Really?
Well, you see, you know, if I actually say to you, look, I'm going to reduce the cost of living. Now, don't forget, people in the government are actually, getting a higher salary now. And, you know, this is where I think, you know, we are lacking in leadership in Kenya.
Right.
We're really lacking in leadership. You know, what is a leader? I once was talking to a group of students and, you know, because I'd actually spoken to an assistant minister of education. I said, look, why do you go around the whole country lying to students? He said, what do you mean? McPhee, what are you saying? I said, look, you go and tell every single student in the class, you are the future leaders of this country. Now, can everyone be the future leader? Yes, in some way. I can be a leader in my family. That's one of our problem areas. Men in Kenya. Wacha, hawa. You know, I'm the honorary treasurer of a football club in Korogosho slums, okay? There's a young lady, Susan, I'm talking to. Susan, she's a really good football player. You know, women's football is becoming a big thing. So I say, Susan, you know, who do you have in your family? Well, I've got 2 elder brothers, okay, and what are they doing? Well, they're doing hustles because they don't have a job, okay? I'm the next one down, okay, and then I've got a younger sister. And I said, well, who do you live with? Oh, well, we live with my mother. I said, where's your father? He's left some years ago. And that happens again and again and again and again. So men in Kenya, Bonnie, you got to style up, man. You got to become men, not bloody chickens. Ndu, I saw you wince when I used that word. Sorry.
I think it's...
It was hitting home.
I'm one of the people who feels that maybe we're not upset enough about some things. So that's okay.
No,
but look, I think one of the questions that we're going to now, there's certain things that have become almost buzzwords in the recent past year, and the cost of living, the economy, trying to make things better. What can actually be done is also a question that has remained unanswered quite some. And that's the thing. What can actually be done? Kenya's borrowing through the roof in terms of austerity. That's not happening. And then there's not enough to go around. That's the truth. There's not enough to go around. Taxes are going to be increased. People don't have enough on their tables, if at all. The question is, looking at it from an economic point of view, which is what probably needs to be invited into the conversation, what then is this leadership supposed to do?
Well, if you remember, when we went into COVID, the president and the vice president both took a salary cut.
Yeah.
Now, when I was driving here this morning, first of all, I drive a car, the price of petrol has gone up, okay, and I actually buy it at a 5 shillings discount from Astrol, okay, on Lanana Road, and it's between where I live, Strathmore School, and where I work, Strathmore University, so it's very convenient. And, but you see, I'm actually trying to travel less. Why? Because our import bill for petroleum is the biggest single item on our import bill. And if you look at the first quarter of this year, we spent on imports 590 billion shillings. Mind you, that's actually 3 billion shillings less than the equivalent period last year. But you've got to also keep in mind that 590 billion is in a shilling which has in fact depreciated by at least 7% over the year and possibly more. Mm-hmm. So in volume terms, we've got less. But you see, why have we got a devaluing shilling? It's gone from 100, let's say 2 or 3 years ago, to 140 today. It's because we are living beyond our means as a country. And the problem is, let's face it, if I'm in a position of power in Kenya, I will get my family members, okay, some women at Strathmore University have done a study of all the counties, and all the women in the counties are unhappy people. Why? Because there's so much, me employing my cousins, my relatives, etc., etc., etc. But now, you see, when I say I'm going to reduce the cost of living, if I'm a Mwananchi and I buy a loaf of bread, say for 35 shillings, what that means is I'm now going to buy the loaf of bread at 30 shillings. Now, that is unrealistic. I can't do that. Now, what very often people say is I'm going to reduce the cost of living, and the rate of inflation, let's say, goes from 9% to 8%. But you've got to remember, the 8% means that thing, on average, which cost me 100 shillings a year ago, is now going to cost me 108 shillings. Mm-hmm. So, we're not actually reducing the cost of living. Where in the world is the cost of living going down? Nowhere. Mm-hmm. So this is a world problem. And I don't know what happened yesterday about whether the Russians are going to let the ships come from Ukraine out, okay? That Ukraine is an incredibly large wheat-producing country, okay? Mm. And we in fact import quite a lot of our wheat from there. But if you go back 3 years, we imported a lot of wheat from Russia. Mm. Now, the problem is that there's a country in the world which thinks they're above everyone. Mm. I won't name the name of the country, but I think we all know which it is, okay? It's a country which is run by criminals, okay? And those people should actually be in Guantanamo Bay rather than some of the innocent people in that particular. Now, let me know. I know, do you've got your boxing gloves there. And you're about to actually box me because that's your favorite country in the world after Kenya and after Nigeria. But the position here, okay, is the prices are going up everywhere in the world. Now, what have we got to do? We got to try to work better in Kenya. We got to work smarter. And, when students see me with a djembe, I don't know, do you know what a djembe is and do?
A hoe.
A hoe, exactly.
Yeah.
Okay. I in fact, on Saturday and Sunday last week, were out because I grow trees. I don't plant trees. I do plant them, but I also grow them.
Right.
Because I've got to make sure that they actually live. Because, if I go and plant 500 trees and I go back a year later and 499 are dead, what have I achieved? Okay? So we got to grow trees. But when students see me with a hoe, a djembe in my hand, digging around a tree to try to make sure that the grass is not interfering with the tree, they look at me and say, this man should be in Mathari Mental Hospital.
Why?
Well, because here you have this Muzungu doing this when you can have, Tom, Dick, or we know that fellow there doing it.
And he pays them.
And now, I don't have money to pay these guys. You see. This Muzungu is rolling in money. All the Muzungus have money somehow. Nikweli Owogo. So they look at now. I have a friend. He's a classmate. From way back. And he was talking to me. He says, "I'm very disappointed with my sons." And I said, "Why?" He said, "When they see me digging, they run away." Because this is the youth of today, you see. So
they don't want to be involved in it.
But we got to understand, there are basic economics. For example, if you take the price of fuel is a barrel of oil is now about $75, but let's take it to be 70. It was that a few weeks ago. At 100 shillings a dollar, that's 7,000 shillings. When the price goes up to, when the Kenya shilling goes from 100 shillings to the dollar to 140 to the dollar, that barrel of oil now costs 9,800 shillings. So automatically, I know a friend of mine, he says, what's the government doing? This, and, in fact, when I filled up on Thursday night, because after I'd filled the car, actually, I asked one of the attendants, I said, what's going to happen on Saturday about the price of petrol? He says it's going to come down by a shilling. When I told some friends of mine that, they said, you stupid man. How can it come down? It came down 1 shilling and 10 cents. But you see, we got to remember the international price of oil, is in fact higher. And also the Kenya shilling is weaker. And the Kenyan shilling is weaker. Why? Because we're not doing enough to promote our industry in Kenya. And, we've got to make Kenya an attractive destination. When you take our exports, because our exports, in fact, were, substantially higher than they were 2 years ago and substantially higher, 25%, 25 billion shillings higher in the first 3 months of this year at 233 billion. Now, 40% of that was food. Well, in food is tea, coffee, avocados, fruit, vegetables, which are exported. One of our biggest export markets is, in fact, number 2 in the world, after Uganda, is the Netherlands. Why? Because we export a lot of flowers and a lot of vegetable there.
Yeah.
So, but the point is, what do we see happening in the tea and the coffee industry now? We have politicians who come in, think they're experts, know nothing about tea, know nothing about coffee, and they're messing up the market. And so, you can grow tea in many other places in the world. I actually have spoken to the Malawian High Commissioner because when the previous one to the one now, because tobacco is now a product which is going to, it's going to die eventually, because fewer and fewer. 2 years ago was the first time in the history of the world that tobacco consumption started going down.
Right.
And you find fewer and fewer people are actually buying tobacco. So Malawi depends on tobacco. I said, look, get into tea. And they actually sell their tea at the tea auction in Mombasa.
Right.
So they can get into that in a big way. Kenya doesn't have to be the only country in the world. We are the largest exporter of tea in the world. Don't mess the market. Look at it. And realize that you, as even the vice president, you got to learn, Bala. You got to learn.
You don't know everything.
You don't know anything.
Let's take a break.
Find the
on
facts.
That.
Sorry.
Let's take a break on that. Dr. Jim McPhee, lecturer at the Strathmore University. He's a man who is very well spoken on matters of public finance and economics, and that's what we're discussing today, Kenya's economy. Siti?
Yes.
So the third episode of Faithless comes out this Thursday,
which is
but there are
tomorrow.
2 episodes that someone can actually sit today and dedicate some time and enjoy on Showmax.
It's important. It's important if you're a movie lover, if you're a movie buff, and you've been watching all these productions that come from wherever they come from, whether it's Bollywood, whether it's Hollywood. Well, we do have Nollywood. That's African.
Kenya's is Riverwood.
Well, Kenya's, as Eric now tells me, is called Riverwood. But it is worth your while. Take the time and watch the first episode if you haven't.
Right.
You will want to watch the second and you will want to watch the third.
Kabisa.
It's just like you follow the many episodes that you watch currently. This will get you glued on, and you'll be anticipating every new episode.
Very good.
Yes.
Faithless on Showmax. Subscribe today.
This is the Situation Room, the only way to start your day.
It's that time again when we get to gather around and marvel at the great engineering, raw power, finesse, and sharing our round motor love for motoring at the annual Digger Motor Show 2023. From car lovers, bike enthusiasts, spare part dealers, insurance, as well as asset financiers and more, this year's Digger Motor Show will be one for the books. We're talking a whole 4-day event from Thursday 20th to Sunday 23rd at KICC Grounds, Nairobi, where we will have something for everyone, so you better not miss out. Get the family, bring your friends, and share in the joys that will give you lasting memories and an experience you're bound to not forget. For more information or participation, contact Caroline on 0723-803601 or email sinyandiaka@standardmedia.co.ke. Digger Motor Show 2023 is brought to you by Standard Group and Digger Motors and is powered by Spice FM.
Hey, you're good? It's been a minute. I don't see you at the apartments these days.
I'm good when I moved.
Better job, a better pay, more rent, huh?
Wapi Omera, call me homeowner.
Yeah, right. What are you talking about?
Listen, I was tired of paying rent. So, I remember I always told you, I need my own place.
Where? See, you must be earning a pretty penny to have bought a house or even be paying a mortgage.
No. I got on to Boma Yangu. It's a government-owned project for affordable housing.
Now, what is that?
Live the dream, owning your home. Log on to www.bomayangu.co.ke or dial *832# or walk into any Huduma Center countrywide and start your journey towards home ownership today.
Take the money. Who's gonna know? Cain won't rest until he finds you. You could run and go far away. Think about your role in the church. No one will know. It'll be your own secret. I am warning you. 4 church members pray for their crimes when they're drawn into a life of sin and violence in the new Showmax original series, Faithless. Now on Showmax. Sign up to watch at showmax.com.
You have been saving and are now seeking a safe and secure investment for a profitable return. For an investment that is cushioned from inflation, call 0740-400-215. You can now
degrees, highs of 22 and lows of 12. We'll see lows of 19 in Nakuru. Lows of 13 in Nakuru, where it's currently 19 and sunny. It's cloudy at 15 in Nyeri. Highs of 22 and 25 will be the high in a sunny Eldoret at 16. It's 25 and sunny in Mombasa. Highs of 29 and 28 will be the high in a partly sunny Malindi at 27. 24 and sunny in Kisumu, highs of 31 and lows of 18, and sunny at 25 in Kakamega, highs of 30 and lows of 16. The sun is up in Kampala, highs of 28, and we'll see highs of 29 in a sunny Dar es Salaam at 27. 14 and sunny in Johannesburg, highs of 20 and lows of 6. Lagos is sunny at 25, highs of 30, and sunny at 22 in Kinshasa with highs of 33. Let's look into a sunny Beijing at 36. That'll be the high for today, down to lows of 24. And it's sunny at 19 in Paris, and cloudy at 15 in London. Mostly clear at 26 Monday night in New York. Coming into Tuesday, highs of 30 and lows of 22.
When the engine revs, will you be ready to get all that petrolhead enthusiasm at this year's annual Digger Motor Show? Well, you better belt up and make your way to KICC from the 20th to the 23rd of July 2023 for a wholesome 4-day event. Come and join car lovers, bike enthusiasts, spare part dealers, insurance as well as asset financiers, and more for what will be an unforgettable experience by far. We are going all out to make it a great show for you and the whole family with something for everyone, so you better not miss out. For more information or participation, contact Caroline on 0723803601 or email cnyandiaka@standardmedia.co.ke. Digger Motor Show 2023 is brought to you by Standard Group and Digger Motors and is powered by...
A little bit of it left on Uhuru Highway at your various junctions there from Aerodrome and going out towards Haile Selassie. I think we'll be all right moving out from here. The little bit left on the Thika Superhighway just past Survey where there are no service lanes to save you. As you get towards the Pangani underpass, that's where you'll have that bottleneck, but you'll be fine getting out towards Moranga Road. A little bit of it left here and there, but you should be fine. Through the morning, however, let's talk on Spice FM KE on Twitter.
Mature, intelligent talk every morning. Spice up yourself. Mornings done right. 94.4 Spice FM, Nairobi.
Jim McPhee from Strathmore University talking about the state of the economy. Dr. McPhee, the economy as it is now with everything else that's happening, inflation high, the cost of living, all basic goods pricing high. The government itself is looking for money and it's coming to the domestic market and borrowing. The latest bond has been placed at what? Over 16%. And what then that means to the private sector accessing financing in the market. All these things plus the pending Eurobond payment for next year plus all the others, where do they place us?
In a difficult place.
How do we get out of it?
You know, the first thing is, I know a number of years ago I was out at the Windsor Hotel and they were running it was some sort of a seminar or conference, and there was a chap from South Africa, and he was saying, look, you have these problems with infrastructure. Why don't you just go out and borrow? Mm-hmm. Now, what we have done is we built a lot of infrastructure with the borrowing. Sometimes that price is inflated. Okay, we know that the SGR, it's a very, very expensive commodity compared to, let's say, the one in Ethiopia. And the reason why Uganda is going to pipe its oil down to Tanga rather than Mombasa is that the people in Uganda actually saw where it was going to go through Kenya, rich people already buying up land there so that they could be compensated at extraordinary high values and so on. Mm. So the point here really is, if we want to turn around the economy here, and let's say we want to try to help the poor people in Kenya, one thing is, we got to look really seriously at our whole morality, because stealing is something that is going on in Kenya at the very highest levels. Okay, and I was talking to a gentleman yesterday, my dentist. Okay, he's a very, very erudite man. He comes from Meru. I find generally the people from Meru are pretty clever people, because I know a lady, Anne-Marie Kathendu, who came from Meru. When she did her MBA at Wits Business School in Johannesburg, she was number 1 in her class, and I could go on like that with so many of my past students from that place. But the situation, is, number one, the people at the top here, if you're a lady of, any status in Nairobi at all, you've got to be driving a Mercedes or a Prado or a V8 or whatever. And, before the price, the most recent high price, I went to the petrol station on Lanana Road. I was going back from my evening lecture, and there was a lady. She was saying, well, look, I'm filling up, with petrol, because the price is going to go to 196 on Saturday, which it went to 195.50. Now, the position here, is it took 13,000 shillings to fill her car. She was there alone, young lady, attractive-looking young lady, and all the rest of it. But the fact is, the following day I met another lady driving a Pajero, and I said, well, look, have you filled up your tank? She said, why? Well, I normally just, have put in 2,000. I said, well, the prices are going up to 196 shillings at midnight tonight, so you better fill it. How much will it cost? She didn't know, actually, but she said, well, it's normally around 12,000. It now is going to go up to 13, and it's going to go beyond that. So, now you've got to remember that, for example, a litre of petrol, if you're in the UK, it would cost probably close to 300 shillings a litre. Admittedly, salaries are higher there, etc., etc., etc. So, but, number one, some people, are stealing left, right, and centre from government. But it's happening everywhere. It's happening everywhere. And, one of the great things I find about Kenya, when I was doing my PhD in Glasgow as a member of ACCA, I'd go to a cocktail party, and I'd ask people, do you believe in God? That was a conversation stopper. They would turn away and go and talk to some other Tom, Dick, or and in Scotland, Harry.
Why was it a conversation stopper?
Because Europe doesn't want to know about God.
Why don't they?
Well, that's in fact, you're an academic. Maybe you can do research into that, because I don't understand it. But, for example, the BBC, I call them the British Brainwashing Corporation. But anyway, sorry, I saw you wince there a little bit. But the position here, is they've got a narrative, AD, they don't use the word AD, Anno Domini, any longer. It's now CE, current era, or, before the current era, BC, and the current era. And, again, it's a thing that, I loved it in Nigeria as well. You can actually mention the word God. This guy, George Bush, I don't know if you know that gentleman.
Yeah, some guy.
Yeah, which one? Anyway, which one? There were two George Bushes.
Well, the younger one,
yes.
The fellow who should be in Guantanamo Bay. Yes. But anyway, so he came to the UK, and he gave a speech at they have some very big hall in London, and at the end of the speech,
which particular one?
It was a speech in the Mansion House, they called it, and Tony Blair, his lapdog from the UK, when Tony Blair actually ceased to be the Prime Minister in the UK, actually was worth £100 million. I wonder if he got it from his salary or whether maybe he got paid to invade Iraq, but that's another story, Anyway, he was, Blair invited Bush to the UK, and Bush gave this speech, and all these, dignitaries were. And at the end of the speech, he said, probably hypocritically, but he said, "God bless you."
Right.
People normally at the end of a speech clap.
They stand up to clap.
And, you know, they were stunned. They were stunned. You know, there was about a 10-second break, and then they started clapping. No, what's this man said to us? He used this word God that we don't want to hear.
Why would they do that? Well, their national anthem starts with the word God.
Yeah, but maybe that's why they want to change it, you know. But, you know, it's so...
So to the point,
but
there's a lot of public wastage and theft.
Absolutely. You know,
in
why
Kenya.
is it, you know, that the civil servants didn't get paid their salary? And I know an entity in Nairobi. The government have not paid the money which is due to them. Maybe it's 5 years now. Why? Because all that money was stolen by the people in that particular department, which was meant to pay that entity. The entity is here.
How do we?
So, and the problem is now, when that money has been stolen, you got a budget which is on a line item. Now, how are you going to pay this in a following budget when they say, no, this isn't in the budget?
Yeah.
You know, so I tell you that the civil servants, but you know, unfortunately, so many people don't understand that when you start stealing, you destroy things. Mumia Sugar Company used to produce, that one company, 40% of the sugar we consumed in Kenya. That company was destroyed by a clique of people. Okay, one of whom was actually one of my past students, unfortunately. But the thing is, you know, I feel that there was a lack of governance there. Okay, we love that word governance in Kenya, you know. But basically the directors did not actually do what they should have done in that company. And I think also, well, the auditors pointed out these things are going wrong. The directors should have actually, but now Mumias is destroyed. And what we're doing with Kenya is we're doing the same thing. When you steal and steal and steal, you know, Venezuela used to be the richest country in South America. Then you have Chavez who came in and, you know, in this particular case, you know, give something to everyone. I knew when I was doing my PhD in Scotland, I met a fellow from Venezuela. He had now gone and worked in Aberdeen, where you have the centre of the oil industry under the North Sea. And this fellow had to run away. He pointed out, look, in their petroleum production company, okay, first of all, he nationalized it. And he pointed out, look, this thing is going wrong. This person doesn't know what he's doing. He actually had to flee the country for his life, okay? Now, what has happened in Venezuela is they've actually invited an American oil company to go in and start running their oil company. The same thing happens in Nigeria. Nigeria exports its oil to Ivory Coast. It's refined there and imported back to Nigeria. Now, Dangote is actually changing that story, okay? He's now putting in... And, you know, the chief financial officer for Dangote is a gentleman called Oscar Mbeche, an accountant from Kenya. Very, very clever man. He's got brothers lecturing at the University of Nairobi and so on. But so the position here, okay, is when you have, you know, stealing at the level that we have it in Kenya, we are destroying the country. JKIA was meant to be the hub for Qatar. According to people who are very, very highly placed in Kenya, the person there asked the people from Qatar to pay a bribe of a very substantial amount of money. They went to Rwanda. They are, in fact, assisting the Rwandese to build a new airport there. And when that becomes the hub, you know, we're going to lose out.
Nairobi will
We're going to lose out. And who do I lose out? I'm contented, you know, teaching from Monday to Saturday, Saturday afternoon and Sunday afternoon I go looking after my trees. I'm happy with that.
Which is something that always, it bothers many of us when we keep having these conversations. The people in those positions of authority, whether it's the technocrats or even the political class, are intelligent people. They know, like you said, cause and effect. They know what will happen when the things are done the way they're done. Why is it that we don't get people who can do things the right way?
Because of democracy.
What do you mean?
I have a classmate, all right? He worked in Unilever. He worked in Unilever in Uganda and Rwanda and here in Kenya. He's now retired, okay? He's well off, I would say. He used to live in Karen. He sold his house in Karen. He's bought an apartment in Westlands, okay, which he rents out. He's retired now, so he lives on that. But he's also got his pension. And also he lives down towards Lukenya, and he's got a farm in... Well, let me say, forget where the farm is, because now he has a friend in the county where the farm is situated.
Mm-hmm.
And this friend has been told, look, you're now a big man in the county. We're giving you this big job, okay? It's a very important job, but look, there's one condition that you actually have to fulfill. Come 2027, I need 100 million shillings. So make sure that by 2027, you have 100 million shillings for me.
Wow.
Now, is he going to save 100 million shillings out of his salary? It's like Tony Blair, 100 million pounds at the end of his period as Prime Minister in the UK. The answer is no. Where is he going to get the money? From the county.
Yeah.
And Kwame Owino, I was in a seminar with him, okay, when this was before we voted in our new constitution, because, we have this thing of, the governor is elected. In Rwanda, the governor is a civil servant. And you remember when Mohamed Badi was appointed, not elected, appointed the head of the NMS.
Yeah.
Okay? Within a week, I saw changes in Nairobi. You go down Uhuru Highway, the lines are painted there. What's happening? Mohamed Badi put in something like 12 hospitals in the slums in Kenya. In Nairobi, sorry. 12.
The 21.
Sorry, 21.
Yes.
Okay, I had, there's a special name for that in accounting, but I won't tell you what it is, okay, so that you come and listen to me in class. But anyway, this is a man, okay, he was appointed to do a job and he did it. He was answerable. If I'm the governor of Nairobi, first of all, I'm quarreling with my MCAs. They say, bwana sisi nataka ongeza hii pesa hapa. If you ongeza it, everything passes. But at whose cost? At the cost of the wananchi. So we have this thing called democracy. Where does democracy work? Does it work in the United States? Does it work in the UK? Where there's a person I can prove, I've got a video where I can prove that person was a damn liar, and he was elected the Prime Minister of a country in Western Europe. So everyone, we're all brainwashed. You see, we're having democratic elections.
So the problem you have with democracy is the people are not able to elect the right leader?
Correct. Because, look,
so when I
was in Lagos in 2001, they were having an election then, okay? And I remember talking to some of the people there. The Nigerians are wonderful people. They just they understand jokes. They just don't know it. No. They But this fellow was telling me. He says, these politicians, none of them come and talk to us in the business school. And we are the important people here. I said, look, let's suppose that a person comes and spends an hour talking to us. Let's say he's got even 200 people. Let's suppose he's got 500 people. Now, first of all, 250 of those 500 would say, now, wait a moment, you said this, and, this is the beauty about Nigeria. In Kenya, when you go and give a lecture in a public place, you say, any questions, ladies and gentlemen? Silence, silence, silence. I normally ask the first question, it's probably stupid, but after you've asked the first stupid question, people then say, oh yeah, McPhee is, mjinga.
But Dr. McPhee, if I look at...
let me just finish my story.
Go ahead.
In Nigeria, okay, you say, any questions? You get 20 fellows putting up their hand, hey, you said this. So I said, look, you come and talk to 500 of us. 250 won't agree with you. If he goes to the slums and gives 10 naira or 20 naira or 30 naira or 200 naira to each of those people, they will be there in their thousands, which is what happens in Kenya.
And they will vote.
So are our votes of any use? Is there any point in me going to vote? I did go to vote. But, you know, I will be swamped by the votes in Kibra, in Mathari Valley, in Sinai slums, in Korogosho. So those are the people that you go and talk to. So they're the people who will,
Dr. McPhee, every system of government at some level is experimental.
I know.
People experiment with monarchies. Didn't work.
Well,
people experimented
now,
with communism.
Now wait a moment.
We know how that is going.
You know, you have in Saudi Arabia basically a monarchy.
Yes. In fact,
Dubai, you have a monarchy.
You've got into the heart of the matter. It depends on the type, because even when you say democracy, one has to be specific. Is it the American type of democracy? Is it, I would argue, the African type? Because when there's an insistence that the Western type of democracy is what works, then we have a problem.
Exactly.
Because even in the West, it doesn't work.
Exactly. Now look, CT, you should be given the Nobel Peace Prize. You just stated something which is absolutely true, because it doesn't work there. You know?
Can they just give me the money instead of giving me the...
Can you choose what to...
You get a lot of money when you get the Nobel Peace Prize.
Dr. McPhee, it's been a pleasure having you, having the conversation. Come again, we'll invite you again.
Thank you very much indeed, Eric. You know, this was, and you've now introduced me to Ndu, so I'll see where I can do what Ndu is doing.
Hey. Well, thank you very much for tuning into the Situation Room today. Thank you for all the conversations that we've had, and also looking forward to tomorrow, Wednesday, 19th day of July.